10 years after our son's death, my spouse was diagnosed with terminal stomach cancer. I used the savings I had accumulated over 10 years of collecting scrap to purchase a family crypt at Nanshan Cemetery. My spouse couldn't bear to see me struggle and proposed handling their own affairs after death. 3 months later, my spouse passed away, and when I carried their ashes to Nanshan Cemetery, I saw a name on the engraved tombstone that shouldn't have been there. I hurriedly went to the cemetery office. "Excuse me, but did they engrave the wrong name on the tombstone at Plata 19? That's the tomb of our family of 3, and I am the wife of the deceased Chen Guodong. My name is Yang Juing, not Suing." The administrator quickly flipped through the records, checked, and confidently told me, "Madam, the name is correct. It was personally confirmed by your husband, and your husband, 3 months ago, had Ms. Su Ying's ashes buried in tomb 19 as his wife." Seeing the 4 characters, "beloved wife Su Ying," inscribed by my old partner Chen Guodong on the tombstone, I felt a sudden blackout and a dizzying whirl. With a puff, I spat out a large mouthful of blood and was literally angered to death. When I opened my eyes again, I was back on the day I bought the cemetery. 1. Auntie Yang, could you please sign here? The cemetery salesperson's words were like a thunderclap, jolting me awake. Did I get a second chance? Reborn on the day I spent half a lifetime's savings to buy this family burial plot. Thinking back to my previous life, I scrimped and saved, picking up scrap for a full 10 years, just to gather enough money to buy a grave for our family of 3. But I never expected that my partner secretly gave the grave that should have been mine to his white moonlight, leaving me with no place to be buried. I was so furious that I trembled all over, grabbed the cemetery sales contract from the table, and tore it to shreds on the spot. The cemetery salesperson's expression changed. "What do you mean by this, Auntie Yang?" I snorted coldly and slammed the sign pen down on the table. "The meaning is, I'm not buying this cemetery." The salesperson paused, then threatened me. "Auntie Yang, you'd better think carefully. Our family burial plots at Nanshan Cemetery are in very high demand. If you don't sign the contract today, and this plot gets sold, you'll regret it later." I stood up, put away my bank card, and smiled nonchalantly. "Don't worry, I won't regret it. Isn't Chen Guodong trying to secretly give my grave to his beloved white moonlight behind my back? In this lifetime, I'm not buying that grave. I'll see where Chen Guodong's ashes end up in 3 months without me, the sucker, buying his grave for him." 2. After leaving the cemetery sales office, I didn't go straight home. Instead, I went to the bank and converted the 300,000 yuan I had for buying a grave into a 3-year fixed-term deposit certificate. Chen Guodong is now in the late stage of stomach cancer and can only live for a maximum of 3 months. In 3 years, his ashes might be scattered who knows where. What use would a grave be then? For the rest of my life, I'm going to use this money to live out my remaining days well. As soon as I got home, Chen Guodong eagerly reached out to me. "Did you buy the cemetery? Where's the contract? Let me see it quickly." I secretly smirked, pretending to rub my old, aching legs to avoid alarming him, and sighed heavily. "I didn't manage to buy it today." Chen Guodong was anxious. "Why didn't you buy it?" "It's all because of my old legs. I walked too slowly and missed the last bus to Nanshan Cemetery." Chen Guodong gave me an annoyed look, snorted, and lay back down on the sofa, ordering me irritably, "Since you're back, hurry up and cook. What else can you do in your life besides washing clothes and cooking? You know there are only 2 buses a day from the city to Nanshan Cemetery. Couldn't you leave the house earlier?" Hearing Chen Guodong's complaints, I was so angry that my eyes turned red. Why couldn't I leave home earlier? Others might not know, but how could he not? Ever since Chen Guodong was diagnosed with stomach cancer, I've been trying to stretch every penny to save money for his treatment. Chen Guodong is a laid-off worker from a state-owned enterprise, with a monthly pension of just over 2,000 yuan. I've been a housewife all my life and don't even have a pension. Our family lives on a tight budget, and we have to save every penny for Chen Guodong's medical expenses and medication. To save money, I wake up at 3 a.m. every day, rummaging through trash bins on the street before the sanitation workers start their shifts, picking up recyclables. At around 5 a.m., I ride my tricycle to the vegetable wholesale market, collecting discarded fruits and vegetables that others don't want. This way, I can save money on groceries and buy some meat for my partner. I have to be back by 6:30 a.m. to make a nutritious breakfast for my partner, then prepare his herbal medicine and help him take it. Last winter, during a severe snowstorm, my tricycle's battery died. I pushed it all the way back from the market, nearly frozen. But Chen Guodong only complained that I was late, making him miss his breakfast on time. This morning, I didn't even have time to eat breakfast as I rushed to catch an early bus to Nanshan Cemetery to sign a contract. But what about Chen Guodong? He doesn't care whether I had breakfast or not, or if my old leg pains acted up after running around all day. All he cares about is whether he can have his dinner on time. Watching my partner, lounging on the sofa like a lord, playing with their phone. I let out a cold laugh, walked into the kitchen, and slammed 2 nearly expired instant noodle cups onto the table. I've been running around all day, too tired to cook. Let's have instant noodles for dinner. 3. Chen Guodong was stunned for a moment and then flew into a rage. I'm in the late stage of stomach cancer, and you want me to eat instant noodles? I mimicked his actions and plopped down on the sofa. I've been walking all day. My legs are killing me. I'm not cooking tonight. If you want to eat, you cook yourself. Chen Guodong's face turned red. All these years, you've been the one cooking our meals. How would I know how to do it? Besides, we men are meant for bigger things. Have you ever seen a man cooking in the kitchen? Hearing Chen Guodong's words, I couldn't help but laugh. You, a laid-off worker, with a monthly pension of 250 yuan, tell me, what great things can you possibly do? Chen Guodong's face turned a deep shade of red and purple. And he slammed the tea table. Yang Juiying, are you trying to rebel? Oh, I get it. You're despising me because I have terminal stomach cancer and don't want to take care of me, right? You'd better think it through. As a housewife with no job and no pension, you're living off my meager retirement money each month. If you don't take good care of me, when I'm gone, that 2,000 yuan pension will be gone too. Then you'll be left waiting for the north wind to blow. I chuckled. It's as if I've been living off you all along. Chen Guodong, just look at your conscience and tell me, what can you do with the 500 yuan you give me every month for living expenses? Since you think I've been living off you all these years, fine, from today on, we'll live our separate lives. I won't spend a single cent of yours anymore. And you can forget about treating me like your maid. With that, I picked up 2 instant noodle cups and walked straight to my room. Chen Guodong shouted anxiously from behind, Yang Juiying, that's my instant noodles, leave me a bowl, will you? I turned around, giving a cold smile. Yours? This box of expired instant noodles, I bought them myself by picking up trash, not a single cent of yours. Chen Guodong, want some instant noodles? Go buy them with your own retirement money. After saying that, I slammed the door shut and ate 2 bowls of instant noodles by myself. 4. With a full, satisfied feeling in my stomach, my eyes welled up with tears that couldn't be held back. Chen Guodong didn't know that since his late-stage stomach cancer diagnosis, I hadn't had a full meal in a long time. To collect more scrap and save money for his treatment and a grave for our family of 3, I packed 2 homemade buns in my bag every morning and noon, only in the evening. After serving Chen Guodong, could I eat the leftovers from his meal? After Chen Guodong was diagnosed with terminal cancer, his temper became erratic, and sometimes, in the middle of a meal, he would suddenly flip the table. In my previous life, I pitied him for having cancer and not having much time left, so I tolerated everything, even fearing that he would starve. Every time Chen Guodong overturned the food, no matter how late it was, I would make him a new meal, even if I was still hungry, just to make sure he ate. But what about him? As he ate the meal I had made for him with my own hands, all he could think about was how to hide it from me, how to give away the cemetery plot I had painstakingly saved for. To the white moonlight he had longed for his entire life, thinking about all the things Chen Guodong had done behind my back in my previous life. I accidentally spilled the leftover instant noodle soup on him as I walked through the living room, holding 2 bowls. Chen Guodong let out a sharp scream. Yang Juiying, did you do that on purpose? I slowly sat down on the sofa, gasping for breath, deliberately pretending to be exhausted, and spoke slowly. I told you earlier, I've been running around all day, my whole body aches, I can barely hold the noodle bowl, and you still don't believe me. Chen Guodong's face turned ashen, wanting to erupt, but thinking of his terminal cancer and needing me, his free maid, to take care of him, he swallowed his anger. Grumbling as he went back to his room to fetch his laundry and headed to the bathroom to shower, hearing the sound of water in the shower, I immediately went into Chen Guodong's room. Since our son's death, we've been sleeping in separate rooms for over a decade. He knows I'm not interested in books, so the desk has never been locked. I opened the drawer and sure enough, found an old brown paper bag at the bottom. Inside were several photos. Some of Suing alone and some of her with Chen Guodong. Seeing the dark blue Zhongshan suit Chen Guodong was wearing, I felt a wave of dizziness and stumbled, grabbing the table for support. So, these two scoundrels had been conniving together that early. 5. The Zhongshan suit in the photo was the one Chen Guodong forced me to make for him the year our son had his accident. Back then, our son said he was unhappy at the factory and wanted to change jobs, as a housewife with no connections. I couldn't help him at all. I begged Chen Guodong to help our son find a new job, but he said he first had to attend a class reunion in Hangzhou and urged me to make him a new suit. As I was leaving, I brought up my son's job change again. Guodong, aren't several of your high school classmates bosses? Since you're going to the reunion this time, could you ask your old classmates for help and get our son a new job? To my surprise, Chen Guodong flew into a rage. I'm going to the reunion. Not to ask for favors. Do you want me to smile and beg in front of all those old classmates? Are you trying to make me look even more pathetic? I panicked. But our son, alright, let's discuss our son changing jobs when I get back. This wait brought me no good news from Chen Guodong. Instead, I received the devastating news that our son had an accident at the factory, getting caught in a machine and leaving no remains. On the day our son had the accident, I was so terrified that my legs went weak, and I kept waiting for my husband to return. I thought that since Chen Guodong had connections at the factory, he would definitely be able to find out how my son had met his end. I waited and waited until late the next evening when Chen Guodong finally rushed back, but by then, everything about my son's case had already been settled. The factory concluded that it was my son's violation of operating procedures that led to him being caught in the machine. Not only refusing to compensate but also refusing to provide any funeral or pension benefits for my son. I was frantic, determined to go to the factory to demand an explanation, but Chen Guodong held me back with all his might. Enough, Yang Juiying, can't you stop acting like a lunatic? Can't you be more dignified? Chen Guodong's casual mention of dignity led to his son's pointless death. Even after his death, there was no money for a grave, and all these years, his son's ashes have been stored in a public cemetery. But what about Chen Guodong? What was he doing when our son died tragically at the factory? He was wearing the Zhongshan suit I made for him with my own hands, accompanying his beloved Suing, boating, taking photos, drinking tea, and admiring flowers at West Lake. It turns out there was never any class reunion back then. It was actually Chen Guodong and Suing, the despicable couple, using the class reunion as an excuse to secretly meet. 6. Trembling, I opened the top few letters in the craft paper bag. The letters had been sent a few months ago. In them, Suing said she was seriously ill and didn't have much time left. She had no children her entire life, divorced her ex-husband, and was deeply worried that her family wouldn't allow her into the ancestral grave after her death. I wonder what Chen Guodong wrote in his reply, but in Su Ying's last letter, she was utterly grateful to him. She also said that they couldn't be husband and wife in this life, but if they could be buried together after death, they would surely become a divine couple in their next life. At this point, I was already in tears. No guessing was needed. Chen Guodong must have sworn in his reply that he had already bought a grave plot and would have Suing buried with him as his wife. And the family tomb he promised, of course, was the one I had purchased in my previous life. Chen Guodong, how dare you? I clenched Su Ying's final letter so tightly, I wanted to tear it to pieces, but in the end, I put it back into the craft paper bag untouched and pushed it to the bottom of the drawer again. Suddenly, Chen Guodong's voice came from behind me. Yang Juiying, what are you doing in my room? Listen, we're still legally married, yet I, as his wife, don't even have the right to enter his room. I yanked the tablecloth off the table, and the neatly arranged ink, brushes, paper, and inkstones clattered to the floor. Chen Guodong's heart ached, and his mouth twitched uncontrollably. Yang Juiying, what are you going crazy about now? I remained calm. I just came to your room to take my things. Since we've agreed to live separately from now on, my things won't be used by you anymore. With that, I opened the wardrobe and took out all the clothes, shoes, socks, sweaters, vests, bedsheets, and pillowcases that I had made by hand from scraps of fabric. Chen Guodong was left speechless, grinding his teeth in anger. Great, so you want to live separately? Well, I bought this house, so since you're living in my house, shouldn't you be paying me rent every month? I was trembling with anger. Fine, I'll move out today. Chen Guodong, rest assured, I won't take a single penny from you. Likewise, in this life, you won't get any advantage over me again. When he heard I was moving out, Chen Guodong's expression faltered for a moment. He stuttered, if you really have nowhere to go, out of consideration for our time as husband and wife, I can let you stay here. However, you have to keep doing the laundry, cooking, and accompanying me to the hospital for appointments and picking up medication, just like before." I secretly smirked, thinking, after all, you just can't bear to part with me as your free housekeeper, can you? I gave a sarcastic smile and shook my head. "Forget it, I'm afraid you'll come back asking for water, electricity, and gas fees. As a housewife, I don't even have a pension, let alone that much money to give you." Chen Guodong was anxious. "How can you say you don't have money? Didn't you save at least 200,000 or 300,000 yuan from collecting scrap over the years? I know you've been saving this money. Reluctant to spend it, because you wanted to buy a joint burial plot for us, our son, and yourself. Fine, since you're paying for my burial plot, I won't ask for rent or utilities anymore. Is that okay? Now, hurry up and make me something to eat, wash the dirty clothes I just changed out of, go to bed early, and make sure to sign that cemetery contract first thing tomorrow morning." "Chen Guodong, I'm not buying that plot." Chen Guodong's expression froze, and the atmosphere immediately turned cold. "Yang Juiying, what do you mean?" I curled my lips, sneering at him, and said word by word, "The meaning is, I'm not buying the cemetery. Chen Guodong, you can decide where you want to be buried and who you want to be buried with. I'm not getting involved." Chen Guodong's face changed. "Did you sneak a look at the letter in my drawer?" 7. I nodded, meeting Chen Guodong's terrified and angry gaze. "That's right. I've seen all the letters between you and Suing. I get it now. You want to leave me, your original wife, behind and have Suing buried with you as your spouse. I see now. You want to give the family tune we bought with our life savings to Suing." "Chen Guodong, you really have it all figured out. Why are you using my money to buy a grave for your old mistress? Why don't you sell this house of yours? Then you wouldn't just get a joint tomb, you might even have enough left over to throw a grand ghost wedding for you and your old flame." Chen Guodong rejected it without even thinking. "No way. I've already promised this house to Su Ying's nephew from her maternal family. Su Ying has no children, and she's relying on her nephew to tend to her grave and burn paper offerings for her in the future." Even though I had long known that Chen Guodong didn't have me in his heart, hearing him say this still made my heart completely cold. "Chen Guodong, I've been married to you for so many years, borne your children, and served you tirelessly. When you got cancer, I collected trash to save money for your treatment, eating only one meal a day just to save money to buy you nutritional supplements. I don't ask for much from you, but you can't even spare a place for me to stay. Are you even human?" Chen Guodong averted his eyes, feeling guilty, but snorted coldly. "Having children? Humph. What good is it that you gave me a son if he didn't even survive? You've caused our Qing family to lose its lineage. And you still have the nerve to live in our house." I was struck as if by lightning, staring at him in disbelief. "Chen Guodong, how did my son die? Don't tell me you have no idea in your heart. Back then, I begged you so many times, telling you over and over that our son was unhappy at the factory, that his co-workers were bullying him, and I asked you to find him a new job as soon as possible. But what did you do? You were so busy accompanying Suing on a trip to Hangzhou that you completely ignored our son's well-being. Where were you when our son died at the factory? You were out boating on West Lake with that vixen Suing. How dare you blame me?" 8. My heartfelt accusations made Chen Guodong fully realize that some things really couldn't be hidden anymore. He cleared his throat uncomfortably and said vaguely, "That was so many years ago. Let bygones be bygones. Besides, Suing is already gone. Out of respect for the dead, what's the point of bringing up old grievances now? Anyway, I've already agreed to the house matter and written my will. After I'm gone, Su Ying's nephew from her maternal side will be my sole heir. I know you're upset. At most, I'll talk to him and have him acknowledge you as his godmother. After you pass away, he can burn some paper money for you during festivals. Will that do?" I stared at him intently for a while before letting out a soft chuckle. "Chen Guodong, I don't even want my own ashes. Do you really think I care if anyone burns paper for me after I'm gone?" Chen Guodong's face changed. "No ashes. What do you mean, Yang Juiying?" I didn't answer him, just turned around and walked back to my room, closing the door without hesitation. Chen Guodong was outside, banging on the door and yelling for me to get out, as long as I remain Chen Guodong's legally wedded wife. This house is half mine, and no one has the right to evict me from it. What about Su Ying's nephew? I'm curious to see where that so-called nephew of his will bury him without me, the sucker, using my retirement money to buy Chen Guodong a grave. 9. The next day, Chen Guodong didn't kick me out of the house but instead started the silent treatment on me. just like he had done countless times before when he was angry. This time, however, I won't give in to him or coddle him like I used to. He sulked and refused to eat breakfast, but little did he know, I hadn't bought any for him in the first place. After all these years of marriage, for the first time, I didn't cook breakfast myself. Instead, I slept in naturally, then leisurely walked to the breakfast shop at the entrance of the community, ordering a bowl of chicken soup tofu brain and a basket of delicious soup dumplings for myself. Chung Guodong threw his dirty clothes everywhere after changing, deliberately piling up the leftover takeout boxes on the dining table, letting flies crawl all over them. He thought I would do the same as before, unable to stand seeing the mess, and would just clean up for him, but this time, I walked past expressionlessly, as if I hadn't seen it, with green-headed flies swarming over the leftover takeout. Chung Guodong started playing the pity card again with his terminal stomach cancer. Deliberately clutching his stomach in front of me, searching for medicine everywhere, and lying on the sofa, yelling about calling an ambulance. He knew I wouldn't want to spend the money on an ambulance, and would definitely do as I had before, using my frail body to carry him down the stairs, onto a tricycle, and then take him to the hospital. But this time, I didn't even glance at him, just walked straight past him and opened the door to leave. Behind me, Chung Guodong's furious voice rang out. Yang Juiying, are you really going to abandon me? If you have the guts, don't ever come back. He didn't know that I truly had no intention of returning to this home again. 10. I remember once when I was picking up scrap, I found a community legal awareness flyer that said, if you're in trouble, turn to the community. They provide free legal aid to families in need. My lawyer told me that in my case, even if Chung Guodong wrote a will, he could only bequeath the portion of the property that belongs to him to Su Ying's nephew. As for my share, after Chung Guodong passes away, I can sue in court to claim my part of the marital property. After confirming this, I started looking for a place to live outside, without the need to buy a cemetery. The 30,000 I have is enough to find a decent place to live in this city. Instead of renting a place in the city, I boarded the 109 bus, got off at the terminal, and arrived at a remote little village. The village had only a dozen households, all of them left behind elderly. In my previous life, to save money for my late partner and son's burial plots, I would come to this village every winter to collect some cured meat, sell it in the city, and make a small profit. The young people in the village had all moved to the city, leaving behind very cheap old houses. I bought a standalone courtyard farmhouse for just 12,000 yuan. After a few days, I had the house minimally renovated, connected the water and electricity, and brought my son's ashes back from the cemetery. With great solemnity, I buried him beneath the persimmon tree in the courtyard. My son loved eating crisp, sweet persimmons. It's better to bury him beside me than to let him be buried with that shameless couple. As long as I'm alive, my son will always have a bowl of rice during festivals. When I die, it will be even better for us to reunite underground. 11. When I started pulling out my suitcase and packing things into it one by one, Chung Guodong finally panicked. He rushed over, gripping the suitcase handle tightly. Yang Juiying, what do you mean by this? Just because I want to give the cemetery plot to Su Ying, you're going to leave home? Can't you be more magnanimous? I've given you decades of my youth. For you, I've never been able to give Ying a proper status. I've done more than enough for you. What more do you want? Let me tell you. We both owe Su Ying for life. Letting you buy her a cemetery plot is also a way for you to atone for your guilt. Don't be ungrateful. I was so infuriated by his shameless words that I ended up laughing. What do I owe her? She stole my man, killed my son. Tell me, what do I owe her? Chung Guodong said with a livid face and gritted teeth. You owe her a title. If it weren't for you, I would have married Su Ying long ago. She would have been taken care of, not left so early, and not ended up all alone, not even having a proper place to be buried. I laughed, pulled out the marriage certificate from the drawer, and slammed it hard against Chung Guodong's face. Chung Guodong, did you think I cared about this title of yours? A monthly pension of 250, and you're in the late stages of cancer. This blessing, why don't you give it to your precious Su Ying instead? You want to give Su Ying a title? Fine, I'll grant you that. Do you dare to go to the Civil Affairs Bureau with me right now and get a divorce? Chung Guodong trembled with his hand, raised his arm as if to slap me, but in the end, he let it drop weakly. He didn't dare. His son was already gone, and if even I were driven away, what would happen to him? An old man in the late stages of cancer, with a monthly pension of 250 yuan, unable to even afford a caregiver. Who would take care of him, who would arrange his funeral, so. He knew all along that Su Ying's so-called nephew was utterly unreliable. Unfortunately, in this life, I don't want to be the sucker anymore. Didn't he always have it in his heart until his death to give his beloved Su Ying a proper title, then give it? Who the hell cares about this lousy title? 12. As if touching a hot potato, Chen Guodong quickly tossed away the marriage certificate. I smiled, stuffed the marriage certificate into my suitcase, zipped it up, and left without looking back. Behind me, Chen Guodong's broken voice roared, Yang Juiying, if you have the guts, don't come back for the rest of your life. I'd like to see how long you can last out there without a pension, no house, no car, and no son, you old woman. I laughed, no house, no car, no son, so what? I have savings. In this life, I don't need to buy a grave for Chen Guodong. The savings I've accumulated from collecting scrap over the past 10 years are enough for me to live comfortably for the rest of my life. After moving to Maple Forest Village, my life suddenly became leisurely. The courtyard is quite large, and I've planted several plots of vegetables and fruits. There's more than enough for me to eat alone. Bored, I started selling boxed lunches in the village. Many elderly people in the village often eat carelessly because there is no one at home. They make a meal that can last 2 or 3 days, and they hate to throw away spoiled food, which easily leads to stomach problems. After discovering this issue, I discussed it with everyone door to door. From now on, I will prepare their meals for lunch and dinner, and deliver them to their homes. Each meal costs 2 yuan per person. Since the elderly have smaller appetites, I prepare dishes like pea and cured meat rice, tomato and egg drop soup, and green bean braised noodles, serving each person 2 big spoonfuls, fresh and healthy. Soon, all the elderly in the village started ordering meals from me. I used to cook for Chen Guodong, and he never even thanked me, often complaining about this and that. Now, when I deliver meals to the elderly in the village, they all warmly call me Sister Juiying, and they worry that I'm selling the food too cheaply, so they even bring me grain and vegetables to help. When the village chief heard I was helping the elderly with their meal difficulties, he ran around to help me get my business license, so I could focus on delivering meals to them. Hearing the elderly in the village sigh about how their children work in the city and they only see them once a year, I had an idea and started posting videos online of me delivering meals to each household every day. Unexpectedly, my 2 yuan takeout went viral online. Media reporters lined up to interview me in the village, and my food delivery videos were widely shared by official media. Soon, my self-media account reached 1 million followers. My 2 yuan takeout completely blew up. The royalties I earned from monthly videos even surpassed Chen Guodong's annual pension. While I was busy preparing boxed meals for the elderly in Fenglin village, Chen Guodong suddenly showed up. 13. I couldn't believe my eyes when we met again. In my previous life, Chen Guodong, under my meticulous care, always dressed neatly and decently until the day he died, but now, he's wearing cheap old man's tank tops and shorts, with messy hair and beard, looking like a tramp under the overpass. Seeing me holding a large ladle, scooping food from a thermos bucket for the elderly, Chen Guodong was instantly overwhelmed with emotion. Yang Juiying, your husband is in the late stages of stomach cancer, on the verge of death, and you don't care or ask about him. Instead, you come here to buy and cook for a bunch of outsiders. I've raised you all these years, and this is how you repay me. Come on, let's go home. I yanked his arm away forcefully, sneering coldly. Go home? What home do I have? You gave away our house, so what am I supposed to do if I go back? Be your family's hired help. Fine, I'll be your family's help if you want, but first, tell me how much you're paying me per month. Chen Guodong's face turned red as he stammered. You're just complaining because I'm giving you too little, right? Fine, come back with me, and I'll increase your monthly living expenses by 300, 800 yuan a month should be enough for you to buy groceries and cook, right? Before I could even speak, the elderly folks around me were already shouting back at him, 800 yuan a month to do your laundry, cook your meals, and take care of you, you old scoundrel. Go find a housekeeping company, see if they'll even talk to you, Sister Juiying. Don't let this scoundrel fool you. He must be seeing that you're making money from your videos now and wants you to pay for his medical treatment. All that talk is useless. Want Sister Juiying to come back? Fine, first transfer your house to Sister Juiying's name, then hand over your pension card to Sister Juiying for safekeeping. The villagers hurled insults at Chen Guodong, one after another, leaving him red-faced. You don't know anything. Yang Juiying never gave me a son or daughter in her entire life, if I don't give the house to Su Ying's nephew, who will carry the funeral urn and see me off when I'm gone, who will burn paper money for me during festivals, I chuckled, since you've already arranged everything for after your death, why are you here bothering me? Go find Su Ying's nephew, let him do your laundry, cook your meals, take care of you when you're sick, and see you through to the end of your life. Chen Guodong's old face turned from pale to purple, struggling to speak for a long time. Only when I was about to leave on the tricycle did he rush up, grabbing the handlebar and speaking in a pleading, soft voice, Jueying, stop this. I admit that I handled the house matter improperly and didn't consider your feelings. How about this? I'll talk to Shuiying's nephew. At most, after I'm gone, the house will be his, but you can still live there. Helping their family with cooking and taking care of the kids. I've met Su Ying's nephew a few times. He's a straightforward man, not much of a talker. If you live with him, after you're gone, you can leave him your 300,000 yuan in savings to ensure he takes care of you in your old age. He'd be willing to do that. 14. I was so furious that I grabbed the ladle used for serving food and hit Chen Guodong's arm hard. Sorry, he's willing, but I'm not, thinking about my retirement money. And trying to trick me back to be their free maid. Your schemes are practically hitting me in the face, Chen Guodong. If you want to humiliate yourself and support Su Ying's whole family, that's your business. Don't drag me into it. I'm not into humiliating myself. Chen Guodong held his arm, his face dark as he glared at me. Yang Jueying, I was trying to help you plan and arrange things for after your death. Don't be ungrateful. I chuckled to myself, forget it. Keep your kindness for your beloved Su Ying. I, Yang Jueying, have been feeding myself with my own hands since I was a child. I don't need it. You. Chen Guodong's face flashed with anger, but he held it back, softening his tone as he said to me, Jueying, we're both at this age. Can't you just stop being stubborn? I called and asked. The Nanshan cemetery said that the family tomb you looked at before can only be held for us for another 3 days. You've always wanted to give your son a proper burial, haven't you? Since you've made quite a bit of money from making videos, let's go by that double burial plot today. At most, I'll compromise a bit. You can bury me and Su Ying in the same tomb, with you and your son on either side. This life, I've wronged Su Ying. Now that she's gone, I can't just leave her. I laughed in anger. Take care of it. No one's stopping you. I said it. Whether you sell your house, your car, or even your blood and kidneys, as long as you can gather the money, even if you buy Su Ying a luxury tomb in the sky, I can't stop you. Chen Guodong looked embarrassed. He pleaded softly. I've already given away the house. I can't go back on my word, can I? Besides, I'm in the late stage of cancer. Even if I wanted to sell my kidneys, no one would want them. Jueying, I know you have money. Please help me buy that plot of land for the cemetery. I'll repay you tenfold in my next life. No need. You've been unreliable in this life, and I wouldn't dare count on you in the next one. I interrupted him. Chen Guodong, go away. I won't go back with you, but when you die, I will definitely come to collect your body. Before he could feel relieved, I stared at him and said word by word, after all, if I don't handle your funeral, how am I supposed to get back all those wedding and funeral gifts I've given out over the years? As soon as he finished speaking, I saw Chen Guodong's face change dramatically. With a whoosh, he vomited a large mouthful of black blood. He clutched his stomach, his emaciated body, ravaged by cancer, curling up like a shrimp, his eyes pleading with me. Jueying, quickly, take me, to the hospital. I walked over, took his phone out of his pocket, and dialed 120 for an ambulance. Sorry, you didn't give me a penny, and I can't afford to pay for the ambulance for you either. Call Su Ying's nephew and have him take care of you at the hospital and help with the payment. With that, I hopped onto my tricycle, grabbed my megaphone, and loudly announced, lunch is here, bring your bowls. The tricycle carrying 2 large buckets of food slowly disappeared down the rural road, with Chen Guodong's almost desperate gaze following it. 15. I received another call about Chen Guodong, this time from the hospital, saying he was on his last legs and urging me, as his family member, to rush to the hospital to handle his affairs. When I arrived at the hospital, I saw Chen Guodong lying pale and emaciated on the bed, barely more than a skeleton. Beside the bed stood a middle-aged man with a simple face, looking impatiently at the unconscious Chen Guodong, muttering under his breath, you old bastard, always scheming, couldn't you just transfer that house to me while you're still alive? Do you have to wait until you're on your deathbed to let me inherit your estate? Are you afraid I won't give you a proper funeral? I smirked coldly, walked up to the hospital bed, and without hesitation, slapped Qin Guodong hard across the face to wake him up. Qin Guodong seemed to feel no pain, and when he opened his eyes and saw me, a smile actually flashed across his face. "Juing, you're here, I knew it, you wouldn't leave me hanging," I smiled, but my eyes didn't reflect the warmth. "Qin Guodong, did you really think calling Shuiying's nephew would get him to handle your affairs after your death? As long as I, the family member, don't sign, do you believe even the crematorium wouldn't let him sign for you?" My venomous words caused Qin Guodong's face to change color instantly, and his breathing became rapid. I leaned in close to his ear again, speaking slowly and distinctly in a voice only the two of us could hear. "Qin Guodong, you can go in peace. Once you're dead, I'll immediately sue him in court to reclaim half the money from the house. As for the other half, do you think Su Ying's beloved nephew would be willing to spend so much money on such an expensive grave for you?" A flicker of fear crossed Qin Guodong's gaunt, pale face. He stared at me with unyielding eyes and breathed his last. 16. Qin Guodong is dead. I had just signed the cremation papers when I immediately hired a lawyer to sue Su Ying's nephew in court. The legal aid from the community was right. Even though I didn't contribute financially, I still own half the property rights to Qin Guodong's house. In the end, the court ruled that although Su Ying's nephew inherited the old house, he must pay me 630,000 yuan for it. After receiving the money, I couldn't wait to hand Qin Guodong's ashes over to Su Ying's nephew. This was Lao Cheng's last wish before his passing. He once said that he couldn't give your Aunt Suing a proper title in his lifetime, but he hoped to be buried together with her after his death. Out of respect for the deceased, I have decided to honor his wish. I will entrust Lao Cheng's ashes to you. Watching Su Ying's nephew with an expression of disgust, I couldn't help but secretly look forward to it. "Qin Guodong, weren't you obsessed until the end with the idea of being buried with your beloved white moonlight? I'll see if you two scumbags can become ghost lovers in this lifetime." 17. After handling Qin Guodong's affairs, I returned to Maple Village to continue my Tuyuan takeout business. However, not long after, I heard that Su Ying's nephew was reported by neighbors and jailed for secretly handling the ashes. Originally, Su Ying's nephew didn't have a good relationship with his aunt. Pretending to be simple and honest in front of Qin Guodong was just to trick him out of his inheritance and house. But he didn't expect that I, the original wife, would actually give him Qin Guodong's ashes. He's not related to them and isn't rich, so how could he possibly be willing to spend so much money to buy a grave for Qin Guodong and Su Ying, these two dead souls? The couple discussed it and, taking advantage of the dark night, opened the manhole cover by the street, pouring Qin Guodong and Su Ying's ashes into the sewer. To their surprise, this scene was captured by a dashboard camera in a nearby car. After the video went viral, Su Ying's nephew was arrested by the police station. Unfortunately, due to the continuous heavy rain during that period, the sewer flow was too strong, and the ashes of Qin Guodong and Su Ying had long since been washed away by the sewage. In this sense, they were truly inseparable, each part of the other. The police station called me to ask if I wanted to pursue legal action against Su Ying's nephew. Thinking about how this kid avenged my past life's grudge, I wiped away my tears and quickly signed the letter of forgiveness. Lao Cheng loved Su Ying's nephew the most in his life, and even if his ashes were scattered into the sewer, he would definitely forgive him. With the 50,000 yuan voluntarily compensated by Su Ying's nephew, I bought a pig, 2 sheep, half a cow, and organized a lively bench feast for the elderly left behind in the village on the Double Ninth Festival. Later, I used the 300,000 yuan I had originally planned to buy a joint tomb for, and established a mutual support elderly care foundation in Maple Village. From now on, the childless elders in the village, like me, no longer have to worry about being left helpless in old age. A few years later, I used the money I earned from my self-media work to purchase 2 adjacent plots for my son and me in a rural cemetery near Maple Village. Seeing the name Yan Juing engraved on the tombstone, I couldn't help but smile. "Qin Guodong, rest assured in the sewer, and continue your love story with your beloved Bai Yuiguang. As for me, this lifetime I will be with my son, living a peaceful and stable life until a natural death." Story 2. Shen Shanshu has hated my family for 10 years. After achieving success and fame, he used all means to force me to marry him, but before the wedding night was over, I unexpectedly went back 10 years ago, to the time when he was at his most down and out. I was shivering and planned to stay as far away from him as possible. However, the young Shen Shanshu blocked me in the corner. His tone was vicious. What if you try to hide again? 1. When I appeared at the banquet in the evening dress, I was actually in a daze. Just a moment ago, it was my wedding night with Shin Shongshu. He had drunk some wine, coaxed me, and pressed me onto the bed, saying, "Don't move." Then, that taciturn man almost exhausted me to death. The next moment, I was standing here. I was jolted by the cold air from the air conditioner. Subconsciously, I grabbed the cuff of Shin Shongshu's sleeve. I mumbled like I was in a dream, "Husband, it's so cold." Suddenly, there was a deathly silence all around. The dazzling light came into my eyes, and the ambiguity and affection gradually faded away. I gradually saw the people around me clearly. My heart skipped a beat. Wasn't today my wedding night with Shin Shongshu? Why were there so many people here? "Excuse me, I'll be leaving for a moment." A faint voice came from above. The next moment, I was taken to the pantry. A hand suddenly grabbed my neck, and the cold fingertips gradually tightened. A familiar and cold voice came, "Miss Sue, have you found a new way to humiliate me?" The moment I saw his face, I was stunned. It was Shin Shongshu, who looked much younger. In his eyes, there was no longer the viciousness and weight left by the trials of time. There was only straightforward indifference. It seemed that he was meeting me for the first time. I somehow looked at the digital clock in the corner. Click. The number skipped over midnight. The date was automatically updated. The time showed that it was 10 years ago. 2. Thoughts surged in my mind like a tide. I had unexpectedly gone back 10 years ago. At this time, Shin Shongshu had not yet become the feared business tycoon. He also hadn't almost lost his life because of the schemes of various big families. However, when I thought of Shin Shongshu who had completely turned to the dark side 10 years later, I couldn't help but shiver. At that time, Sidiye had already become something in his grasp. In just 3 years, several big families had been ruined by him. Only our Su family, Shin Shongshu had spared the Su family, and he had ordered the Su family to send me to marry someone else. I had spent 3 years with him. I had witnessed him gradually turn from being stubborn to being cruel and crazy. However, on the eve of the wedding night, I found Shin Shongshu's suicide note. That madman actually wanted to destroy his own business empire with his own hands, and take everyone with him. So, on the wedding night, I got him drunk, trying to coax him into leaving me some inheritance. But before I could say it, I appeared here. 3. At this moment, looking at that young face, my heart quietly leaped. What could be better than going back to the time before the villain had turned evil? Of course, it was to stay as far away from him as possible before he turned to the dark side. Before I could come to my senses, the door was suddenly broken open. Several young masters leaned against the door, smiling maliciously. "Shin Shongshu, weren't you so high and mighty? Do you want to cling to the Su family? Where are the security guards? Throw him out for me." In my previous life, I had just stood among the crowd and watched all this as a bystander, but after experiencing so much, I knew how harsh those words "bastard," with a mother who gave birth to him but no one to raise him were. After all, my parents had also left me early. Shin Shongshu beside me lowered his eyes cold, as if he was already used to it. I picked up a fork and threw it at them. "Shut up." Accompanied by the sound of cups and plates breaking, those people stopped talking. "Do you dare to say these words in front of my brother?" Only then did they remember that the elders of our family had also passed away. If they said these words in front of my brother, they didn't want to live anymore. When those people got up, they mumbled unwillingly, "His father is in prison and his mother is dead. They're a family that owes debts and doesn't repay them. What good can you expect from him, Suli? I advise you to stay away from this natural-born scoundrel." This was the first time I had heard about Shin Shongshu's background, and I was stunned for a moment. Hadn't his parents died of illness? When I turned around and met Shin Shongshu's cold eyes, I couldn't help but take a step back. I bumped into the door. There was a trace of mockery in Shin Shongshu's eyes. "What, are you scared?" There was cold sweat in my palms. No. Shin Shongshu slowly approached me and finally blocked me in the corner. "Why did you speak for me?" "I thought those words were harsh. Isn't that okay? My brother taught me like that since I was a child." Shin Shongshu's eyes turned gloomy. "Did your brother teach you not to show kindness casually?" When he saw that I was so scared that I lost all color in my face, he straightened up. "I received your brother's challenge." I saw those arrogant words and my eyes went black. What was all this? My survival instinct made me snatch the challenge letter and tear it to pieces. "My brother said he admits defeat." The corner of Shin Shongshu's mouth curled into a contemptuous sneer, and his eyes were like knives. "Really, do you know what the bet is? 4. After the banquet, I was taken home by Shin Shangshu. At this moment, looking at Shin Shangshu who was locking the door, I huddled in the corner, feeling uneasy, wrapped in a blanket. My phone is out of power, can you call my brother? Shin Shangshu glanced at me indifferently. No. Who would have thought that when my brother challenged Shin Shangshu, he would bet all his wealth? He even said boldly, if I lose, you can have anything you want from me. As a result, Shin Shangshu didn't want his underpants, he wanted his sister, which was me. My brother was abroad at this time, and there was nothing he could do. Moreover, he had a long-standing grudge against Shin Shangshu. People outside said that my brother had snatched Shin Shangshu's study abroad quota back then. He also used his connections to cut off Shin Shangshu's scholarship. My brother retorted that Shin Shangshu was spreading rumors and called the police to detain Shin Shangshu for a few days. In Shin Shangshu's eyes, my brother was no different from an enemy. It's better not to mention him. Shin Shangshu went into the master bedroom. In the middle of the night, it started pouring heavily outside the window. I was sleeping in a daze and was woken up by the figure outside the window. Those young masters from the banquet were leaning against the glass and peeking inside. I was so scared that my scalp went numb, and I rushed into the master bedroom, accompanied by a clap of thunder. I instinctively shrank beside Shin Shangshu. What are you doing? There was a trace of displeasure in Shin Shangshu's voice for being woken up. The familiar warmth came through a thin shirt. I hugged his waist. There are people outside. Shin Shangshu didn't seem surprised. Before I could react, he hooked my waist and pulled me over. His broad and warm hand stroked the back of my neck. My body couldn't help but tremble. Sneaking into a man's bed in the middle of the night, is that what your brother taught you? My ears burned red. My mind suddenly became sharp. Did you bring me back because you were afraid they would take revenge on me? Shin Shangshu's face darkened. He turned over and pressed me under him. His cold lips slid across my earlobe, like a poisonous snake. Is this how you repay me? Do you know what I'm going to do to you next? I leaned limply against his arm and didn't even struggle. After all, I knew exactly how powerful Shin Shangshu was in my previous life. I was 10 years younger and couldn't resist him at all. Can you be gentler? I bit my lip and dared to make a request to him for the first time. I like it when you're gentle. Shin Shangshu's body stiffened. His face suddenly turned gloomy. In your dreams. After saying this, he threw me onto the bed and left without looking back. 5. I had a rare good sleep. When I woke up in the morning, the rain had stopped. I opened the door and found Shin Shangshu sitting in the living room having breakfast. Perhaps because he didn't bully me last night, I thought he was more approachable. I ran over with a thick face and heuristically said, today I'm going home. Shin Shangshu ignored me. I said again, can you not tell my brother about what happened last night? I don't have a boyfriend, and I'm afraid he won't be able to accept it if he finds out. After being reborn, I was still quite afraid of my brother. If he found out that I spent the night at a man's place, he would probably nag me until my ears hurt. Shin Shangshu stared at me coldly and sneered, what about these? Under the half-open collar. There was a small scratch under his collarbone. I accidentally scratched it when I struggled last night. I felt guilty and pulled up his collar to cover the scratch. Just pretend you didn't see it. Seeing that Shin Shangshu was staring at me gloomily and didn't refute, I carefully moved to the door. Then we have a deal. Since you're ignoring me, I'll take it as your acquiescence. After saying this, under Shin Shangshu's gloomy gaze, I opened the door without looking back. In a flash, a figure suddenly rushed past me. He pressed Shin Shangshu and punched him right in the face. Shin Shangshu, you son of a bitch, how dare you steal my girlfriend? The scene suddenly fell silent. I stared blankly at the person who suddenly appeared, feeling at a loss. Boyfriend. I looked at my ex-boyfriend who had broken up with me ages ago in horror and realized that I was doomed. How could I have forgotten about this? I rushed over and stood in front of Shin Shangshu. Let's talk it out. Don't hit him. Shin Shangshu took the punch and spat out a mouthful of blood. The trace of gentleness he had disappeared without a trace. I nervously held his face. How are you? I'll take you to the hospital. He lowered his head and dodged my touch, suppressing the gloom in his eyes. He let out a laugh with an unclear meaning. No boyfriend. Suli, you really are amazing. 6. In my previous life, as soon as I found out that he had cheated on me, I broke up with him immediately. His name was Su Mingqing, the young master of the Su family. I had cried for a long time because of that. In this life, I just advanced the breakup time. As a result, on the day of the breakup, Su Mingqing sneered and said, so you like Shin Shangshu, right? Fine, you just wait. In the following days, rumors spread quickly in the circle. Many people even pointed at Shin Shongshu and talked about him. Suli was about to get engaged to Su Mingqing, and he just stepped in. What's going on? It's so disgusting. He's a bastard with a mother who gave birth to him but no one to raise him. He's like a stray dog, not letting go of good things. These malicious slurs made my heart ache. I knew exactly what it felt like to be spoken of like that. When my mother passed away, some people at school said the same about me. When my brother found out, he beat that person up, but I was still sad for a long time afterwards. I suddenly felt a little guilty. After all, I was the one who caused all this. I looked for Shin Shongshu for several days and finally found him at the door of a KTV on a rainy night. At that time, I had just finished a classmate reunion. When I turned around, I saw Shin Shongshu leaning against the wall, motionless. It seemed that he had drunk some wine. Leaning in the shadow, he closed his eyes, and I couldn't see his expression clearly, but somehow, I felt that he wasn't in a good mood. I walked over and pushed him. Hey, Shin Shongshu. He half opened his eyes, glanced at me, and didn't say anything. At this time, the rain was getting heavier, and people were gradually leaving. I took the initiative to hold his arm. Can you walk? I'll take you home. He gently pushed me away, and his tone was full of alienation. Stay away from me. On the phone that accidentally fell, a blessing message from the bank was displayed. I was stunned. Today was Shin Shongshu's birthday, but he looked uncomfortable. It seemed that he had a fever. My heart felt blocked. I remembered something. Wait for me. I'll be right back. A few minutes later, when I came back with a cake and antipyretics, I found Shin Shongshu looking at me wordlessly through the rain. I waved at him happily and ran towards him. Suddenly, a bolt of lightning flashed across the sky. In the moment when the lightning flashed, I saw a person standing behind Shin Shongshu. He was wearing a hood and a black mask. In just a moment, that person quickly walked towards him. A sense of foreboding welled up in my heart. Shin Shongshu, be careful. Subconsciously, I threw myself on Shin Shongshu. A sharp pain shot through my arm. I let out a cry of pain. The next moment, I was firmly protected in Shin Shongshu's arms. A strong smell of blood filled the air. I mumbled coldly, "Help, I've been stabbed." Then my eyes went black, and I fainted. When I woke up, I was lying in the hospital ward. When I opened my eyes, I saw Shin Shongshu's bloodless face. I covered my abdomen and said weakly, "Am I going to die?" The doctor beside me smiled and said, "Don't worry, little girl, your wound will heal tomorrow. Your boyfriend got a deep cut on his arm." I raised my hand and looked at the band-aid on the back of my hand. After thinking for a while, I slowly looked at Shin Shongshu. I found that his arm was wrapped in a thick bandage. That strong smell of blood came from him. I quickly sat up and leaned over his wound, asking nervously, "Does it hurt?" Shin Shongshu replied in a low voice, "It doesn't hurt." I reached out to touch his forehead. Fortunately, the fever had subsided. Shin Shongshu dodged my touch, his eyes burning. "Why did you take the hit for me just now?" I was stunned by his sudden question. Maybe it was out of compassion, or maybe it was because of some other complex emotions, or maybe I thought he wasn't the complete villain I thought he was. I avoided his gaze and chose a seemingly ordinary reason. "Because it's your birthday today, by the way." "I still want to celebrate your birthday. Where's my cake?" Shin Shongshu suddenly grabbed my wrist. He lowered his head and kissed me. It was different from the aggressive lip lock in my previous life. This time, Shin Shongshu's actions were gentle, even a little cautious. My mind went completely blank, and I stood there stunned. He was kissing me. Worse yet, before I could fully react, I found myself reciprocating the kiss. The situation quickly spiraled out of control. Shin Shongshu's clear and refreshing breath slowly enveloped me. His index finger landed on my ear, caressing it affectionately. Not content with just my ear, he then moved to my hair, my cheeks. Like the feathers of a crow skimming the water's surface, creating ripples upon ripples, the air grew stuffy and hot. My heart was pounding so hard, I felt it might leap out of my throat. Fireworks seemed to explode in my mind. Only when all the air in my lungs was completely depleted did I manage to catch my breath. My face burning bright red. Shin Shongshu pressed me against his chest, and his deep voice rang in my ear. "Shu, be quiet for a while." The room fell silent. All that remained were our unsteady heartbeats and breaths. I whispered softly, "You won't take responsibility after kissing me, will you?" After a brief silence, he replied in a low voice, "I will." 7. During the following days of getting along, I realized that Shin Shongshu was very different from the him in my past life. He didn't have such deep-seated schemes, and I didn't need to tiptoe around to maintain our relationship. Most of the time, he even did everything I asked. I started to get bolder. Remember to check in every day with this couple location app, then I'll know where you are. On a peaceful afternoon, Shinshanshu held down my hands that were fidgeting on him, and the corner of his lips curled up. Okay, I added worriedly, you must check in every day. If you do it for 3 years, you can get a bonus, and it doubles if we get married. There was a faint glimmer in Shinshanshu's eyes. Okay. When my brother burst into the ward. He happened to see this scene. He was so angry that his voice cracked. Suli, get off him right now. Just then, the doctor pushed the door open. Family member of the patient, please come to the office. Shinshanshu got up skillfully and followed the doctor out, not even glancing at my brother. But for me, this was the first time I'd seen my brother since being reborn. Remembering that he had suffered from depression in my past life and eventually died in a foreign land. Tears welled up in my eyes instantly. Brother, I missed you so much. My brother's face was stern as he said fiercely, don't think I'll let you off the hook just because of this. I don't approve of your relationship with Shinshanshu. I choked back sobs and looked up, trying to explain. My brother continued, you can only choose one between Shinshanshu and me. Hearing this, I cried even harder. My brother impatiently took out a tissue to wipe my nose. What are you crying for? You become so clingy in just 3 days, I sniffled and said, brother, if I told you I'm from 10 years in the future, would you believe me? My brother froze. After meeting my fragile and panicked gaze, his expression suddenly turned serious. This was the first time I'd had an emotional breakdown since being reborn. I poured out everything I'd suffered in my past life. When he heard that I had married Shinshanshu after his death, the last trace of color drained from my brother's face, leaving it horribly pale. So, it's because I couldn't protect you that you followed Shinshanshu and tried so hard to please him. Click, the wind outside the window accidentally blew the ward door shut. The room suddenly became so quiet that it made my heart race. As if sensing something, I looked up. At the boundary between light and shadow, I saw Shinshanshu standing in the deep shadows, his expression calm. I didn't know how long he had been there. 8. Shinshanshu left without saying a word. And I was kept under my brother's watch. With my phone taken away, my brother said he didn't want me to take risks, since I hadn't liked Shinshanshu in my past life, and it had only been a few days. This could just be regarded as an ordinary relationship. If it was over, it was over. But was my feeling for Shinshanshu really just simple liking? In my past life, since my brother suffered from depression, the heavy responsibility of the entire family fell on me. I often cried myself to sleep. I felt like a person lost in the dark, unable to see the way forward or the light. Later, I spent 3 years by Shinshanshu's side. They all said Shinshanshu was violent and cruel, but during those 3 years, he always granted my every wish and never once lost his temper with me. On that rainy night when we were being chased, the moment Shinshanshu settled me in a corner and left resolutely, or on the many nights when, after I became afraid of thunder, he would return to the villa without fail. Regardless of the weather, had my feelings, imperceptibly, changed. Suddenly, the notification sound of my phone rang. I looked up at the phone lying on the table. My brother had forgotten to take it away. A message from an app popped up on the screen. Your boyfriend is nearby. I was stunned. Had he never uninstalled the app? My heart gave a little tug. Without hesitation, I put on my coat and rushed out of the ward. It was still drizzling outside. The air was filled with an unending dampness. I had lost some weight, and the loose hospital gown hung on me. Feeling empty, following the phone's location, I stopped in front of a ward. Just before pushing the door open, I heard a woman's gentle voice. Sue, I'm much better. You don't have to come see me. My hand froze in mid-air. Shinshanshu said softly, no matter how busy I am, I have to come and be with you. The electronic display at the door showed the patient's information. Female, 28 years old, Sue Wenjun. She didn't have the same surname. She was even a year older than Shinshanshu. The courage I had mustered vanished in an instant. My mind in chaos, I unconsciously walked to the nurse's station. The ex-boyfriend of patient in bed 18 is here again. So pitiful. She's terminally ill at such a young age, and her ex still stays by her side. The thing is, he doesn't even bat an eye when paying the sky-high medical bills. I heard he runs a company and is very rich. Coming to my senses, I stopped an ant passing by. Excuse me, are they really? Looking at my reddened eyes, the ant seemed to understand. Little girl, don't pursue someone who already has someone in their heart. My heart sank. The memories of my past life and this life connected, and I suddenly seemed to understand everything. No wonder Shin Shongshu had changed so much after going bankrupt once. It was because Su Wenjun had died, after being reborn. I had helped Shin Shongshu out of my own wishful thinking, never considering that maybe he didn't need me at all. Thanking the aunt, I dried my tears and walked towards the elevator. After turning a corner, I met Shin Shongshu's gaze as he came out of the ward. At some point, the rain had stopped. Half of the moon peeked out from behind the clouds, casting a thin layer of moonlight in the corridor. My heart ached sharply. Without thinking, I turned and ran. Suli, Shin Shongshu's voice, laced with anger, came from behind me. It seemed he was chasing after me, wearing slippers. I couldn't run fast. After just a few steps, he grabbed my wrist. "What are you doing here?" Holding back my tears, I said, "Taking a walk." "You came all the way from the next building to take a walk." Plop. Tears fell uncontrollably onto the back of his hand. "Sorry, I won't tell anyone. From now on, I won't pester you anymore. My brother and I will stay far away from you." After saying this, I felt Shin Shongshu fall into an eerie calm. The viciousness from my past life once again overwhelmed me. "Suli, how afraid are you that I'll take revenge on you? So much so that you want to cut off all ties?" I bit my lip and remained silent. Shin Shongshu grabbed my chin and lifted it up, shouting fiercely, "Speak, don't be afraid of me." Meeting his fierce gaze, I shuddered. Dark emotions swirled in Shin Shongshu's eyes, like a terrifying tempest brewing. "If what you said is true and I will reach that position in the future, Suli, remember this, I won't let you go. I'll haunt you like a ghost. You'll never, ever be able to run away." My heart ached terribly. After all these twists and turns, things had returned to the starting point. Then what was the point of everything I had done, Su? A woman's voice diffused the tense atmosphere. "What are you doing? She's a girl, speak to her gently." Su Wenjin's face was pale from illness. A beam of cool moonlight shone through the window, enveloping her slender figure in a halo. She looked like a fairy who had strayed into the mortal world. She pushed Shin Shongshu discontentedly and pulled me out of his grasp. Shin Shongshu indeed let go of his hand and said with a sullen face, "Sis, this is between me and her," with tears still in my eyes. I turned to look at Su Wenjin in confusion. "Sis," she smiled gently, "this is the first time I've seen Su bring a girl to see me. Are you Su's girlfriend?" 9. Even when I sat by Su Wenjin's bedside, I still felt like I was in a dream. Su Wenjin handed me a peeled apple. She smiled and said, "I sent Su away. Take your time to eat, no rush." It was clear that she was very happy. I didn't want to disappoint her. So I took a bite and pointed to the words on the display screen. "That name." "You mean the surname," Su Wenjin said softly. "I'm Su's half-sister from his father's side. I took my mother's surname." "Ah, I'm sorry. I felt guilty for my previous unfounded speculations." Su Wenjin shook her head. "Su probably never told you about our family. Back then, our father was quite a prominent figure in City A. Before Su was born, he raped my mother and I was born." My chest felt tight, and I didn't know what to say, but Su Wenjin seemed very calm. "When I was brought into the family, Su hated me very much. Later, the family went bankrupt, and our father died in prison. The debts he owed due to being framed were transferred to Su's mother, and she hanged herself. Over the years, it's just been the two of us relying on each other." It felt as if someone had grabbed my throat, and I couldn't say a word. Shin Shongshu had never told me any of these things before, and only now did I learn about his past. Su Wenjin smiled at me. "I can probably guess why he doesn't have a girlfriend, but I don't think I have much time left. I won't be a burden to you too." I grabbed Su Wenjin's hand tightly, as if it were a life-saving straw. "Don't say that. Without you, he'll go crazy." Remembering how, in my past life, he had insanely taken revenge on everyone at the end, even willing to destroy himself, I still felt a lingering fear. "I know what you're afraid of." Su Wenjin held my hand, "But I want to say, Su was never a bad kid." Shin Shongshu pushed the door open and interrupted our conversation. "Sis, it's getting late. I'll come see you another day." Su Wenjin told Shin Shongshu repeatedly, "Be good to Lily." Shin Shongshu paused. "Got it." When we left the ward, it was already late at night. Shin Shongshu pulled me along as we walked down the empty corridor. Our footsteps echoed between the white walls. I felt heavy-hearted. I wanted to explain but didn't know where to start. Shut up." Shin Shongshu's voice was almost cold. I was being dragged by him and couldn't keep up. "In a hurry," I shouted. "You're walking too fast. I can't keep up." Shin Shongshu stopped and slowed down his pace. When we got back to the ward, the nurse greeted Shin Shongshu kindly. "Mr. Shin, you're here again." I was completely confused. What did that mean? Did Shanshu come to see me every day, meeting my gaze? Shanshu still coldly threw me into the ward. Click, the door was locked. Before I could regain my balance, I was pressed onto the sofa by him. I'll ask you one more time, why did you come looking for me tonight? Shanshu's gaze was so sharp that it seemed to pierce right through me, forcing me to look away. I said softly, I went to confess to you, but then I saw you in someone else's ward. I misunderstood. The next second, Shanshu forcefully kissed me, a kiss full of plunder and aggression. Advancing step by step, he didn't bother to hide his desire at all. So blatantly laying siege, my voice trembled, and my hands pushed feebly against his chest. I haven't finished speaking yet. Shanshu cupped my face in his hands. I don't care. Suli, you tell too many lies. I don't want to hear them. Seeing that he seemed about to continue, I frowned to stop him. Don't you believe me? I don't trust anyone, and I won't give you any chance to back out. In Shanshu's world, love was never about setting the other person free. It was about possession. Just like tonight, the summer night wind blew the white gauze curtains, the white fabric undulated like waves, gently caressing the glass bottle by the window, as if with a faint lick. It was soon pushed to the edge, teetering, helpless. At a certain sweltering moment, it fell into the endless night, and finally, crashed to the ground. It shattered into a pool of glistening shards on the floor. Shanshu, we can't do this here. My voice was almost hoarse, guided by his hand. I was forced to meet his deep gaze. Did the other me do this too? My face flushed, and my eyes were dazed. All my reactions told him the answer, but apparently, this answer didn't improve his mood. Instead, it stirred up intense jealousy. You seem to like this. Shanshu didn't give me any chance to catch my breath and pulled me back into the abyss of desire. Then keep your eyes wide open. Suli, you belong to me. 10. A few days later, Shanshu took me away after I was discharged from the hospital. In the face of my brother's protests, he just sneered, and in front of my brother, he locked me in the car. My brother was devastated. Lily, do you really like him? Leaning against the car window, I whispered an apology. Brother, I'm sorry, I'll come back to you once I sort things out. Shanshu seemed to have become the person he was 10 years later again, taciturn and incredibly assertive. He put a ring on my finger. It was of excellent craftsmanship, set with a delicate and small pink diamond. There seemed to be some words engraved inside the ring. I desire you more than anything. Shanshu wore a plain ring of the same style. After that, he took me to various banquets and publicly announced our relationship. Since he hadn't experienced the first round of bankruptcy, Shanshu's company was growing more and more powerful, coupled with the fact that my brother had called a truce with Shanshu. For a time, no one dared to provoke him easily. However, because of those words, there was always a rift between Shanshu and me. Counting it up, he left early and returned late every day, and we hadn't met for half a month. I tried to intercept him several times, but all failed. One day, I unexpectedly started packing my luggage and asked someone to leave a message for Shanshu. I'm going home. The sun gradually sank below the horizon, and the villa was gradually enveloped in darkness. With a soft click, Shanshu indeed came back early tonight. His movements were a bit hasty as he opened the door. With a snap, the living room lit up as bright as day. I was lying on the sofa. Due to the backrest blocking his view, he didn't notice me. Lily, Shanshu called out and walked upstairs. As expected, he would see the emptied bedroom and dressing table. The waiting time seemed exceptionally slow. Shanshu walked out of the bedroom, looking extremely tired. He leaned on the railing, closed his eyes, and hid the gloom in his eyes. When he opened his eyes again, he met my gaze as I lay on the sofa downstairs, holding a bottle of sweet wine. I greeted him with misty eyes. What are you looking for? A few minutes later, Shanshu helped me up from the sofa. His hands were trembling slightly. I could clearly feel that Shanshu wanted to stab me to death. The light and shadows flickered in front of my eyes. My neck went limp, and my head dropped onto his shoulder with a thud. Supporting my head, Shanshu said in a husky voice, "Why didn't you leave?" I mumbled lazily. My brother had a meeting today and was busy. But he said he'll be available the day after tomorrow. Suddenly, my wrist hurt. It seemed that Shanshu was suppressing something. I changed into a more comfortable position. But I don't plan to stay at home. Will you pick me up the night after tomorrow? Shanshu was stunned. You're coming back. His distant attitude in the past few days suddenly made me feel impulsive. People's actions are often more persuasive than words. I grabbed his tie. used the leverage to climb onto his shoulders, crossed my hands behind his neck, and leaned up to gently kiss him. Shangshu's breathing suddenly became ragged, his tense arms firmly held my lower back as he let me kiss him freely. I've been waiting for you for so long. There was a hint of grievance in my voice. But you ignored me. Now, if I go home, are you going to break up with me? Shangshu didn't move. Standing like a statue in the darkness, his dark eyes stared at me. No. I'm not, I sighed, worrying about my brother doesn't conflict with liking you. Shangshu, I really like you. I don't want to leave you. Shangshu buried his head gently in the crook of my neck. After a long silence, he said, they all said that, but no one ever kept their promise. Who are they? Shangshu's voice was barely audible. My father said he loved me, but he betrayed the family. My mother said she loved me, but after the creditors came, she pushed me out the door and committed suicide to escape. Su Wenjun said she loved me, but the year I graduated, she secretly signed the consent form to give up treatment behind my back. Everyone around me has left me in different ways. How can I believe you? These words were like a thorn that pierced deeply into my heart. My heart suddenly ached. After being reborn, I seemed to suddenly understand his life. He had been losing people all along. Shangshu pulled me tightly into his arms. So I won't have any expectations of you. As long as you stay by my side, that's enough. I stroked his head. Then, do you want to get married? Shangshu looked up in surprise, and his breathing became very light. Get married? Yeah, I thought carefully. Although marriage can't give you a complete promise, at present, I can't think of a better way to make you believe me. Anyway, we've been married once before. What's wrong with getting married again? Shangshu seemed to be frozen in place and didn't speak for a long time. I started to panic inside. Getting married 10 years earlier meant that I'd be entitled to half of Shangshu's future property, although I wasn't here for the money. Just thinking about it made it hard to suppress the smile on my face. Seeing Shangshu's stunned expression, I suddenly felt a pang of conscience. Proposing while sitting like this was a bit presumptuous. Should I kneel down for Shangshu? What if he refuses? The clock in the corner ticked by. When the bell struck 12 at midnight, Shangshu lowered his eyes and said softly, okay, don't lie to me. 11. The first day I brought Shangshu home, my brother almost threw a spatula at him. Get out, you're not welcome in my house. I stood in front of Shangshu and got splattered with soy sauce all over my face. Brother, I'm going to marry him. Did I give my consent? Do I need your consent? And you're not my father. Shangshu, protected by me, took out a tissue to wipe the mess off my face. He looked coldly at my brother, refusing to back down even a step. Encountering such strong resistance from the very beginning made me so angry that 2 pimples popped up on my chin. In the end, it was the neighbor who poked their head out to watch the commotion. My brother, feeling embarrassed, finally let us in. This was Shangshu's first time visiting my home. I kept offering him fruits and drinks. Suddenly, Shangshu stopped me. Stop moving around and eat something. The next moment, a piece of sweet watermelon was stuffed into my mouth. My brother erupted again. That was the watermelon I cut for my sister. Shangshu replied with a cold face. Oh, thank you, bro. My brother looked as if he had eaten something disgusting. Lily, stay away from him. He's a despicable person. Likewise, Shangshu retorted, sensing the tense atmosphere. I immediately stopped them and played the role of peacemaker. Brother, why do you call him a despicable person? My brother, wearing an apron, sneered. He spread rumors that I stole his grant. What else is that if not despicable? Yes, I didn't like him back then, but I, Su Jiaqing, would never stab someone in the back. If I let someone like him grow powerful, who knows what he'll do in the future? No wonder my brother had been deliberately targeting Shangshu since the early days of his success. Shangshu scoffed. I wouldn't stoop so low as to spread rumors about a nobody. You, stop. I was overwhelmed by the arguing. Brother, how do you know he spread those rumors? Su Mingqing told me. My brother said with disdain. Do I need evidence? Shangshu didn't even blink. Just sneered and didn't respond. My brother's face turned ugly because he indeed had been too hasty in this matter. I asked, then who actually stole his grant? How would I know? You should ask him who he offended. Shangshu said. Su Mingqing. My brother's anger suddenly vanished, and an eerie silence fell over the living room. They stared at each other. Shangshu said, if I'm not mistaken, he's still your current business partner. My brother clicked his tongue and got up to walk towards the kitchen. I see. The truce came unexpectedly. Before I could react, I asked, hey, What do you two understand? Shin Shongshu stroked my head but didn't answer. However, it was obvious that he was in a good mood. After that, the way Shin Shongshu and my brother interacted became rather strange. They stopped arguing and could even exchange a few stiff words occasionally. On the way home, I finally couldn't hold back my curiosity and asked, "What exactly happened between you and my brother?" Shin Shongshu said, "We cleared up some misunderstandings, just with a few words. Yeah, I regretted it so much that I felt like my intestines were turning green. If I had known it was this easy, when I first came back, I should have tied Shin Shongshu and my brother together and made them talk things out." Remembering what my brother told me before I left, "Stay at Shin Shongshu's place and don't run around recently," I felt even more confused. It wasn't until we were almost home that I got back to the main topic. "Does this mean we can get married?" Shin Shongshu suddenly stopped in his tracks. I accidentally bumped into him, standing at the entrance without even taking off his shoes. He pulled me inside, sat me on the shoe cabinet, and smoothly undid his tie and unbuttoned his cuffs. "Do you really want to marry me?" Shin Shongshu seemed to be in a good mood tonight, admittedly. "There's no major conflict between me and your brother now, but I still can't get along with him peacefully. I want to know, if your brother and I can't stand each other, who would you choose?" I cursed inwardly. How was this any different from the question of who to save if two people fell into the water at the same time? I didn't hesitate to answer, "Of course I'd choose you. I can't spend my whole life with my brother. As long as there's no major conflict between you two, I'll be at ease." Before I could finish, Shin Shongshu held the back of my neck and leaned down to kiss me. Dazed and weak all over, I was carried into the bedroom. 12. The next few days were the most comfortable days I'd had in years. If Su Mingqing hadn't appeared in front of me again, I would have almost forgotten about him. "Lily, I haven't agreed to the breakup yet." When Su Mingqing spoke, I was bending over in front of the shop window, choosing a cake, looking up at his somewhat unfamiliar features. It took me a while to remember his name. After all, the breakup had been 10 years ago for me. Straightening up, I frowned and said, "You cheated. I don't need your consent to break up." Su Mingqing's eyes suddenly turned gloomy. He grabbed me roughly. "You got involved with Shin Shongshu before we broke up. How dare you say you didn't betray me?" I was startled. "Let go of me. I have photos of you cheating. You've been flirting with someone for at least 2 months. How can you have the nerve to scold me?" Su Mingqing sneered. "It was just a fling, unlike you, you slut. You're even going to marry him." Suddenly, a large hand reached out and tightly grabbed Su Mingqing's wrist. "Try touching her again," a cold voice said. Su Mingqing let out a scream, and his face turned pale instantly. Shin Shongshu pulled me away from him and pushed me towards my brother. Then, my brother started shouting, "Come and see. The cheating guy is blaming the victim. He's bullying my sister. This is outrageous. His cheating is just a fling, but my sister is in the wrong for breaking up with him." People around started taking out their phones to record. I covered my face in embarrassment and hid behind Shin Shongshu, afraid of getting into the camera. Despite being at a disadvantage, Su Mingqing became even more arrogant. "Suli, do you really think you can play me like this? You wait, one day, I'll make you kneel and beg me." With that, he pushed through the crowd and left triumphantly. Shin Shongshu bent down to check my wrist. "Does it hurt?" I shook my head. I had gotten used to the sight of him and my brother appearing together. On the way back, I sat in the passenger seat eating ice cream while my brother and Shin Shongshu chatted casually. "Don't drag things out. Since we signed the contract, the sooner we finish, the better," my brother said. Only then did I realize what they were talking about. "What contract did you sign?" My brother said lazily. "Oh, we're collaborating. We jointly invested in a new company called Shinha." I was stunned for a second and then suddenly screamed, "Shinha, yeah, Shinha." Beneath my brother's lazy smile was an irresistible edge. "Lily, you can't imagine how brilliant Shinha's future will be." I could indeed imagine it. 10 years later, this giant born out of capital plundering would be like a runaway beast, destroying the economy and foundation of City A. I hadn't told them these details, but the fact was that everything was developing in the same direction as in my previous life. Shinha was still established. The only difference was that this time, there were 2 notorious villains instead of 1, and the extra one was my brother. 13. That night, I called the 2 of them together and told them in detail everything I knew from my previous life. 10 years later in my previous life, the number of unemployed people in City A soared. Many small businesses went bankrupt under heavy debts, and the number of suicides skyrocketed. That year, the hospital was filled with crying relatives. Some people even wore mourning clothes and knelt at intersections, cursing Shinha. After listening, Shinshanshu and my brother looked surprisingly calm. My brother said, "Lily, have you ever thought that the real problem lies with others?" Shinshanshu wrote down several surnames on a piece of paper and said, "City A has been prosperous for decades. These big families have endured and now control the lifeblood of the city. What do you think they would do when the balance is disrupted? What would you do?" I looked at the small Shinha emerging outside the established power structure, feeling as if something was gripping my throat. "I would do everything in my power to make it disappear." My brother's expression became solemn. He circled the Su family name and then crossed it out lightly. "The same goes for rebels." After hearing these words, a chill ran through me. I only knew that my parents had died when I was very young, and my brother had never told me how they died. Now, my brother looked at me intently. "Lily, from the moment you predicted that I would suffer from depression, I knew that my plan would fail 10 years later. I couldn't defeat them, and most likely, I would have no choice but to entrust you to Shinshanshu. After all, with my personality, even if I died, I wouldn't push you into danger." So I deduced that Shinshanshu and I were on the same side. So much information flooded my mind that I stood there, stunned. "So, you let me be with him these past few days because you trust him?" My brother looked as if he had swallowed a fly and was too angry to speak. I suddenly saw the light. When the clues from my past life and this life were put together, everything made sense. Shinshanshu and my brother had the same goal: to change the situation in City A where various powerful families were in control and bring those lawless people to justice. However, Shinshanshu was overly cautious. And my brother disliked Shinshanshu because of Su Mingqing's sowing of discord in the early years. So in my previous life, even after 10 years, the two of them never formed an alliance. They fought on their own. In the end, my brother failed and suffered from depression, entrusting me to Shinshanshu, who was still struggling to hold on. Then, the suicide note I saw in my previous life was most likely not written when Shinshanshu was determined to die. It was more likely that Shinshanshu had already reached a desperate situation and attempted to perish together with those people. After figuring all this out, my heart gradually grew heavy. The road ahead would not be easy. It was even extremely dangerous. What kind of decent people could force both Shinshanshu and my brother into a desperate situation? Seeing that I seemed frightened, Shinshanshu put down his pen and issued an order for me to leave. "All right, we're going to bed. Don't you have a home? Go back." My brother, 14, after the typhoon passed, the rainy season in City A finally ended. Shinshanshu and I got the marriage certificate. This matter caused quite a stir. Beneath the seemingly peaceful atmosphere, there were actually undercurrents surging. Recently, the hospital had changed Su Wenjin's treatment plan, and she became much more energetic visibly. With nothing else to do, I went to the hospital every day. At the moment, Su Wenjin was staring blankly at a paper cupcake. "Lily, can you finish so much?" "Sure, Shinshanshu likes it, and you do too. Making enough for 2 people is just right." Su Wenjin was taken aback. Since when did Su like sweet food? He's always liked it. I blinked. He'll eat whatever is given to him, easier than feeding a puppy. The puppy next door always picks its flavors. Su Wenjin seemed to think of something and burst out laughing. "Then try making brownies and add more sugar." That night, my brother took the first bite and immediately spat it out. "Suli, aren't you afraid of getting diabetes? It's not for you." I rolled my eyes and gave a piece to Shinshanshu like showing off a treasure. "You like sweet food, right? I improved this recipe." My brother was stunned for a second, then suddenly laughed. "Shinshanshu, your wife put her heart into it. Aren't you going to have a taste?" Shinshanshu froze. He picked up the fork and stuffed it into his mouth without blinking. Under my brother's astonished gaze, he swallowed it. "Not bad, your cooking has improved." When I wanted to give him a second piece, my brother grabbed me. "Don't force him, he doesn't even add sugar to his coffee. If he eats another piece, he really will get diabetes." It took me a full second to react. Remembering Su Wenjin's question, I finally realized. "You don't like sweet food?" Shinshanshu was silent for a while. "I do." That few seconds of silence was enough to explain everything. My brother found it hilarious. "Dude, you're something else." I felt frustrated for a long time because of this. After all, in my previous life, I always thought that it was my dedicated baking of small cakes that won Shinshanshu's heart. Then, if it wasn't the small cakes, what exactly made him like me? This mystery would never be solved. A few days later, Su Wenjin was discharged from the hospital and moved into our home. In these troubled times, Su Wenjun and I couldn't go anywhere, so we started playing games at home. The previously quiet villa suddenly became lively because she and my brother always quarreled over the games. One day, they started arguing again. I was full and sleepy, lying on Shen Shongshu. Seeing me frown, Shen Shongshu picked me up and went upstairs. "How's the preparation going between you and my brother?" After washing up, I was too sleepy to keep my eyes open. Shen Shongshu sat by the bed and stroked my head. "Don't worry, everything is fine. Then when all this is over, let's go on a honeymoon. We can first travel around Europe and then lie on the beaches of some small southern islands to soak up the sun." Shen Shongshu smiled. "The plane tickets are already booked, you two can leave first." His words were so casual, but they woke me up a lot. "What do you mean?" There was something swirling in Shen Shongshu's eyes, but he just smiled. "This way. Your brother and I can have no worries." I knew they were about to take action, and I also understood that staying here would only be a burden. I hugged Shen Shongshu tightly and mumbled, "We just got married." Shen Shongshu understood what I meant and patted my back to soothe me. "I know, I'll finish it quickly and come to find you." 15. On the day I left, Shen Shongshu couldn't come to see me off. Su Wenjun and I got into the prepared car and headed for the airport. Looking at the villa that was getting smaller and smaller, I tried my best to open my swollen eyes, wanting to take one last look. Su Wenjun squeezed my hand. "Lily, get some sleep. I'll wake you up when we get to the airport." I hadn't slept all night. At her words, I felt drowsy and leaned on her shoulder to take a nap. I don't know how long it had passed. When I woke up in a daze, I found that the car was speeding through the wilderness. I woke up instantly. My sudden movement caught Su Wenjun's attention. "What's wrong, Lily?" Su Wenjun had stayed in the hospital for a long time and was not familiar with the surrounding geography, but I knew this wasn't the way to the airport. In my previous life, when I was riding home with Shen Shongshu, we encountered a chain reaction car accident in a tunnel. Someone wanted to harm Shen Shongshu. To lead those people away, Shen Shongshu settled the injured me in a corner and didn't come back all night. And now, that tunnel was right in front of us. An ominous premonition came over me. "Stop the car." My voice was a bit shrill. Unfortunately, the driver seemed deaf and stepped on the gas, charging towards the dark tunnel. Just like in my previous life, the car was thrown up and rolled over. Finally, it crashed into the wall of the tunnel with a loud bang. After the dust settled, intense pain spread throughout my body. I heard the sound of scattered footsteps and someone calling 120. The first thing I did was look at Su Wenjun. Her face was deathly pale, clearly frightened. Fortunately, she wasn't trapped. I tried to move my body to get out of the deformed car, then turned back and pulled Su Wenjun out. She gasped in pain. "It hurts so much." I saw blood gushing out from her calf. Not far away, several men wearing baseball caps got out of a jeep and walked towards us. The familiar scene immediately alerted me. I grabbed Su Wenjun and ran towards the depths of the tunnel. When I reached a remote corner, without hesitation, I pushed Su Wenjun in. This was the place where I had hidden in my previous life. "As long as you don't make a sound, they won't find you. I'll lead them away." After hearing this, Su Wenjun was clearly shocked, but she knew that being injured would only hold me back, so she nodded firmly. I turned around and ran towards the other end of the tunnel. I had a plan in mind. If everything developed the same as in my previous life, as long as I followed the direction Shen Shongshu had left in, I could escape safely. Thinking of this, I couldn't help but quicken my pace. Behind me, Su Mingqing's voice came. "She's here, come over." I ran out of the tunnel with all my strength. When I saw the black car blocking the tunnel entrance, I felt as if I had fallen into an ice cave. Their people had been waiting for me here. I stopped and tried my best to stop my hands from shaking. "What do you want?" Su Mingqing walked over slowly, a mocking smile on his face. "Of course, to make you suffer." Then, several bodyguards suddenly appeared beside me and pinned me to the ground. Su Mingqing took a laser pointer from someone else and shone it in my face. "Lily, are you blind? What's so great about Shen Shongshu that I can't compare?" He gripped my chin tightly and pointed the laser pointer at my eyes, his eyes shining with a fierce light. Just as he was about to press the switch, someone came over. "Mr. Su, there's a call." From the receiver, Shen Shongshu's anxious voice came. "Don't touch her. Whatever you want, I can give it to you, on the condition that not a single hair on her head is harmed." Su Mingqing sneered. "Fine, exchange your eyes for hers. When you go blind, I'll let her go." I interjected emotionally. "Don't listen to him. Even if I go blind or die, I won't beg him." The fact that Su Mingqing was here could only mean that they were cornered. My brother and Shin Shangshu would most likely win. But Shin Shangshu ignored me. He said, "I promise." Then, a pained groan came from the other end of the line. It seemed that someone had attacked Shin Shangshu. Su Mingqing's face turned cold. Playing with the laser pointer in his hand, he ordered, "Shine it until she goes blind." Hearing this, I was struck with horror. Scenes from my previous life flashed through my mind. When I was rescued by the police, I saw Shin Shangshu standing not far away, looking at me. His clothes had a bit of dust on them, and there was no blood on his body. I thought he had escaped danger that night, but from that day on, Shin Shangshu never stood in the sunlight again, and he never looked me in the eyes directly. The cold look in his eyes when I lit the birthday candles for him, and the empty, terrifying eyes with which he stared at me from the shadows in countless late nights all revealed a fact. One of his eyes couldn't see after that. This discovery was like a silver needle piercing my heart across the long span of my past and present lives. I instantly understood what had happened on the night Shin Shangshu left the tunnel. He had lost one eye to protect me. Tears streamed down my face. I almost lunged towards the phone and shouted hysterically, "Stop, don't touch him." Su Mingqing dragged me back by my hair. "Lily, you're so lucky, he's taking your place, so you don't have to suffer." I cried until my voice was hoarse. But Shin Shangshu's voice was calm. "Don't worry, it doesn't hurt." Suddenly, several police cars sped up from the bottom of the hill. Su Mingqing's face darkened immediately. He cursed in a low voice. "Damn it, how did they get here so fast?" My brother acted quickly and rushed out of the car first. "Let her go." Then, a police officer's cold voice sounded. "Su Mingqing, all your people outside have been arrested. I advise you to surrender yourself." The situation changed so quickly. Before these people could react, they were handcuffed to the ground. I rushed forward in a panic, my voice trembling. "Brother, Shin Shangshu." My brother comforted me. "Don't worry, he is help there and won't get hurt." I sobbed. "Brother, send him to the hospital quickly." My brother's face changed drastically, realizing something was wrong. He immediately picked up the phone and called, "What's the situation over there?" An anxious voice came from the other end. "Mr. Shin's eyes have been exposed to the laser for a long time and have been urgently sent to the hospital." "What did the doctor say?" After a moment of silence, the person replied in a low voice. The doctor said, "The situation is not optimistic. There's a risk of blindness." 16. When I saw Shin Shangshu in the hospital, he was in a dim corner, with his eyes lowered, exuding an air of indifference that kept people away. This scene suddenly overlapped with that in my previous life. I walked up to him and called out with a sobbing voice, "Shin Shangshu." He raised his head. It seemed to take a great deal of effort for him to focus his gaze on my face. I slowly hugged him, and tears streamed down like a broken dam. Shin Shangshu held my back tightly, as if he wanted to merge me into his very being. After a while, he said softly, "Suli, let's dissolve our marriage." I was stunned, filled with disbelief. "What did you say?" Shin Shangshu's gaze passed through me calmly, looking somewhat empty. "Your brother will find someone better for you, someone healthier and gentler than me." I saw that the ring was no longer on his ring finger, and a surge of anger welled up inside me, but I had nowhere to vent it, so I pushed him onto the chair and rummaged through his clothes haphazardly. Finally, I found the ring, which had been turned into a necklace, inside his shirt. "What's this?" I asked angrily. Shin Shangshu held my hand tightly. "Suli, I'm not a good person. I'm selfish and stubborn. Years from now, if you start to dislike my eyes, I can't guarantee what I'll do." I said. "How could I dislike your eyes? You lost them because of me." Shin Shangshu interrupted me. "A life-saving grace can be the root of resentment in a relationship. From now on, every quarrel between us might make you keep giving in because of this grace. Are you sure you won't resent me for that?" I opened my mouth, almost crying from anger. "That's absurd. I'm just laying out the possibilities for the future." Shin Shangshu smiled. "Lily, it's not that I don't trust you, it's that I don't trust human nature. Only by showing you the paths ahead can you know how to choose." Looking at the smile on his face, I really wanted to hit him. His old problem had resurfaced, being sensitive, suspicious, and petty. I guessed that in the previous life, the main reason he didn't give me two choices was probably that my brother had become mentally ill, and there was no one to arrange a way out for me. So, he simply concealed the fact that he was blind and eliminated all possibilities of me leaving. But now, the situation was different. He couldn't hide what happened to his eyes anymore, so he just came clean and wanted a straightforward answer from me. Annoyed, I pulled the ring off his neck and put it back on his ring finger. "Shut up, who do you think you are, expecting me to accommodate you?" After a brief moment of silence, Shin Shangshu broke his previous cold demeanor and softly laughed. After a rainy season, City A completed a new round of reshuffling. The deep-rooted and complex forces lurking beneath the surface were uprooted all at once, creating a huge stir. A year later, the city took on a brand new look. In the consulting room at the same time, the doctor took off the rubber gloves and turned off the examination equipment. "Mr. Shin's right eye has fully recovered, and the vision in his left eye is slightly worse than that of a normal person. I suggest you pay attention to rest in daily life." Shin Shangshu nodded. "Thank you." Still worried, I pried open his eyelids, held up 2 fingers, and waved them. "Are the rhinestones on my manicure coral pink or cherry pink?" Shin Shangshu. I was still excited. I think that question was too hard. "Okay, you can surely tell the difference between pink and orange. Look at my lipstick shade." Shin Shangshu led me out of the consulting room while I was still chattering. He took me around the corner, then lowered his head and gently kissed my lips. He then raised his head and said, "Orange flavor." I mumbled in complaint. "I wasn't testing your sense of taste." Shin Shangshu watched with a smile as I took out the lipstick from my bag and angrily filled in the smudged part. He reminded me, "Hurry up, they'll be impatient waiting." It was exactly 1 year ago that Shin Shangshu and I got our marriage certificate. Today was our wedding anniversary. Due to the special circumstances at that time, we didn't hold a wedding ceremony, so I decided to make it up this year. Now, Shinha was booming, and we had invited many celebrities from the industry. My brother was extremely busy. If we were late today, he would definitely nag at us non-stop. Sure enough, as soon as we got out of the car, my brother called, "Where are you?" "I have a meeting in the afternoon. I can't drink alcohol. Let that guy Shin Shangshu handle it." In a rush, I pushed Shin Shangshu to accompany him and then hurried to the backstage to change into my wedding dress. The makeup and styling were already prepared. Su Wenjun had also been waiting for a long time. When she saw me, she immediately told the staff to bring the dress over. Actually, I didn't want to make the schedule so tight. Shin Shangshu was extremely busy, coming home only in the early hours of the morning yesterday. Today, he had to see the doctor and then rush abroad for business negotiations in the evening. He also planned to take me on a vacation in Europe. As a result, we could only squeeze the wedding ceremony into the noon. Thankfully, with Su Wenjun's help, I quickly changed into the dress. I thought I wouldn't be nervous, but when I stood at the end of the long aisle and looked at Shin Shangshu bathed in light, my heart started pounding uncontrollably. It was spring, and the warm and gentle sunlight spilled onto the lawn and everyone present. Shin Shangshu stood in the center of the venue, watching me walk towards him from a distance. With the gentle spring breeze blowing, I walked up to him joyfully and, as I had done countless times before, naturally took his hand, accepting all the blessings from our relatives and guests. At that moment, I suddenly felt as if I had traveled through time. Those broken and painful memories of the past seemed to be fading away from my life, and the happiness in front of me was becoming more and more real and tangible. The breeze was just right, and the MC's voice was clear, soft, and soothing, calling on the guests present to witness the future belonging to Shin Shangshu and me. When he asked, "Mr. Shin, are you willing to spend the rest of your life with Miss Su?" Shin Shangshu fell silent, and the entire venue was filled with silence. I looked up at Shin Shangshu in confusion. He seemed to be lost in thought for a moment. "Hey, are you still half asleep?" I gently shook his hand, and Shin Shangshu, as if waking up from a dream, looked at me. Our eyes met, and a sense of familiarity that transcended time washed over me, making me freeze for a moment. "Mr. Shin," the MC called again. Shin Shangshu blinked and quickly regained his composure, smiling as he said, "I do." 17 Shin Shangshu's side story from the previous life. In his memory, City A had never experienced such a long rainy season. At night, the rain pattered outside the window. Suli beside him was already fast asleep, amidst her long, even breaths. Shin Shangshu gradually found a trace of peace and tranquility. Tonight was their wedding night. Perhaps because of the cold, Suli snuggled up to him in her sleep. Compared to when she was awake, she was especially bold at this moment. Shin Shangshu gently pulled her into his arms and closed his eyes. He hadn't had a good night's sleep for a long time. The old established forces in City A were becoming increasingly rampant, even slandering Shinha almost every day. He received various public opinion reports. He had been fighting for this for a full 10 years, and originally, he could have held on longer. Just yesterday, he had completely lost his sight in one eye. and the vision in his remaining right eye was also deteriorating. He almost revealed the problem during a meeting. Perhaps in the near future, he would go completely blind. The time left for him was running out. Feeling the soft body in his arms, he felt a sense of regret. He had no intention of telling her the truth. It would only cause her unnecessary panic and do no good. Before Su Jiaqing started his treatment, he had forced Shin Shanshu to swear that he would always protect Su Li, but Shin Shanshu knew that a blind man like himself wouldn't be able to protect her. Then, there was only one way left, to sacrifice his life and perish together with those people. He wrote a will and moved the wedding date forward. Su Li seemed a bit scared, but Shin Shanshu didn't have time to explain. Once the business war started, there was no turning back. The final result of this battle would be either life or death. Shin Shanshu wanted to ensure that after he was gone, the title of Mrs. Shin could still enable Su Li to use the people under his command, take his inheritance, and leave City A. She might not be very shrewd, but when it came to matters of life and death, she always knew what to do. Shin Shanshu wouldn't deliberately try to figure out what kind of feelings Su Li had for him. He seemed to have lost the ability to feel love and the ability to love others. After Su Wenjun passed away, he completely closed himself off, no longer giving or contributing, and becoming a greedy and insatiable madman who only knew how to take. He enjoyed Su Li's kindness to him, used all means to hide the truth about his eyes, and blocked all the ways for her to leave him. He really wasn't a good person. Maybe after Su Li got the inheritance, she would even spit on his grave. Shin Shanshu was lost in thought and didn't notice at all that the body in his arms had long since gone cold. By the time he realized something was wrong, it was too late. That night, the Shin residence was brightly lit. Poison was detected in Su Li's body. It had been smeared on the lipstick she used regularly. Shin Shanshu held Su Li and sat there for a long time. He couldn't understand why his already miserable life had to end up in an even worse situation. Su Li's body was turned into a small tombstone and was buried next to Su Wenjun. Shin Shanshu stood in front of it, silent for a long time. The last person in the world who was willing to give him love was gone. In the following 3 years, those people endured Shin Shanshu's escalating anger. He went completely crazy, attacking them day and night, regardless of the consequences, and using any means necessary. No one could withstand his almost self-destructive revenge. By the time they were imprisoned, Shinha had also reached the end of its journey. The day Shinha announced its bankruptcy, when Shin Shanshu woke up in the morning, he could no longer see the sun. He was completely blind. Perhaps he had long expected this day, for he showed no emotion. He was thoroughly disgusted with this heartless world. Heaven had given him everything and then taken it all away. He had lived a meaningless life and it was time for it to end. That day, he climbed up to the rooftop. There was no longer the gloomy and heavy look left by the hardships of life in his eyes. Unable to see, Shin Shanshu could only keep walking forward. He knew that at some unpredictable moment, he would suddenly step into thin air and fall into the abyss. This was the ending he had chosen for himself, and there was nothing to be afraid of. But in the last moment of his life, Su Li's face suddenly flashed through his mind. He felt a twinge of regret. After his death, there would be no one to bury him. It might take some effort to be beside Su Li, but perhaps it wouldn't be too difficult. He took a step forward. The wind from the vast wilderness blew from the sky, playing a farewell song for him. At a certain moment, Shin Shanshu suddenly felt weightless under his feet, as if waking up from a long dream. "Hey, are you still half asleep?" Dazzling sunlight filtered through the treetops. That familiar voice carried a hint of coquetry and a touch of dissatisfaction. He looked down in surprise and met those eyes that were engraved deep in his soul. It was like a stone gently thrown into a deep pond, instantly dispersing the sediment at the bottom. In an instant, the water surged. The memories of the previous life and the present life gradually overlapped. 10 years in a hurry was nothing but a short nightmare under the warm spring sun. Now that the dream had ended, he was still himself. Today was their first wedding anniversary, and it was also the wedding ceremony they had postponed. Below the stage, Su Wenjun and Su Jiaqing were smiling and nodding at him. "Mr. Shin," the MC's voice brought his attention back. In just a short moment, Shin Shanshu regained his composure. He took Su Li's hand and smiled, saying, "I do. Story 2. I fell in love at first sight with Lin Xuanan, my elder brother's close friend. I originally thought that he would reject me because of the 10-year age gap between us. However, on my 22nd birthday, he claimed me without reservation. I was with him for 5 years. When I carefully brought up the idea of whether we should make our relationship public, he smiled and took me to a sanatorium. In the luxurious single room lived his beautiful and vulnerable first love, Song-ji, Jiu. I can have fun with you, it doesn't matter how long it lasts, but my wife can only be her. In my previous life, I couldn't believe that our 5-year relationship was like a mirage. I made a big scene and refused to break up, making our relationship known to everyone. When his first love heard about it, she committed suicide due to depression. Lin Xuanan hated me to the core. After I was kidnapped, he cut off the distress call I made to my family. He watched indifferently as I was killed after the ransom was not paid, and I died a tragic death in the mountains where no one cared. When I opened my eyes again, I found myself back on the day he took me to the sanatorium. This time, I smiled and blessed them, and booked a plane ticket to go abroad. 1. Her name is Song-ji, the love of my life hidden deep in my heart. I stared blankly at the pale and broken girl in the room. With Lin Xuanan's tender voice that seemed out of place ringing in my ears, I'm really sorry, Jiu. It's my fault for not making things clear to you. You will always be a special existence in my heart, but I can't give you a proper status. She is the only woman who will be my wife in the future. These heartless and despicable words struck my heart heavily. In my previous life, he said the same thing. I was on the verge of a breakdown and couldn't believe that for the man I loved. I was just a plaything to relieve his loneliness during these 5 years. I hysterically questioned him why he treated me like this. I refused his proposal to break up and made our relationship known to all. Song-ji was so frightened that she had a panic attack and curled up in his arms. Shivering, I was like a crazy shrew, cursing Lin Xuanan fiercely. He soothed Song-ji, who was like a little rabbit, and patiently explained to her, "She's just a delusional younger sister, Gigi. Don't pay attention to her." The onlookers pointed at me, but I was completely unaware and continued to vent my anger wildly. This time, I didn't break down, nor did I overreact. I just lowered my head and smiled. At the moment I lowered my head, a tear rolled down my face. Lin Xuanan saw my tear, and his eyes became guarded. She became like this because of me, Jiang Ziyu. I hope you won't stimulate her. Our relationship must never be known to her. Seeing that I still didn't say anything, he was convinced that I would make a scene. His tone gradually became harsh. If your elder brother knew that you gave up the opportunity to go abroad for me when you were 22, what do you think he would do, Jiu? I hope we can all be more decent. I suddenly raised my head and interrupted him. I understand, Lin Xuanan, I wish you all the best, let's break up. I looked straight into that face that I was so deeply addicted to. I watched as the smile on his lips froze. He was stunned. He opened his mouth, trying to find a trace of emotional breakdown on my face. Unfortunately, I was extremely calm. In the end, he swallowed back those words and shifted his gaze to Song-ji. It's good that you can see things clearly. I didn't want to stay there any longer. Just as I was about to turn around and leave, Song-ji saw us. Xuanan, you came to see me. Some light returned to Song-ji's dull eyes, and she walked over from the window. Lin Xuanan quickly stepped forward to greet her and carefully tucked the stray hair on her forehead behind her ear. Song-ji looked at me curiously, and the hostility in her eyes was impossible to ignore. Who is this? I spoke up before Lin Xuanan could. I'm the younger sister of his friend. Brother Xuanan said he wanted to bring me to see the woman he loves the most. In an instant, Lin Xuanan's face darkened a bit, and his gaze towards me became much darker. Song-ji took his arm and extended her hand as if declaring her sovereignty. Hello. I didn't shake her hand. I just took a few steps back and smiled gently. I won't disturb you today. I'll be leaving now. I turned around and left. Behind me, I heard Song-ji's delighted voice. Nan, the doctor said I can be discharged from the hospital next week. After all these years. Thank you for waiting for me. 2. The sanatorium was in the far suburbs, and I had to walk to the highway to hail a taxi. In my previous life, I refused to let go, which led to the death of Song-ji and my own death as well. This time, I just wanted to escape as quickly as possible. I took out my phone and booked a plane ticket to go abroad next Monday. After my father passed away, my elder brother took over the family company in the country. My mother was in poor health and was receiving treatment there. My elder brother always hoped that I could go and keep her company. Because of my relationship with Lin Xuanan, I was determined to stay in the country. The year before last, my mother had a major operation and almost didn't survive. Even though I felt extremely guilty, I still didn't consider leaving Lin Xuanan. It's time for me to fulfill my filial duties properly. If it weren't for the fact that someone couldn't leave the company in the country, my elder brother would probably have already put immigration on the agenda. I can't let my family worry about me anymore. While I was lost in thought, a car stopped in front of me. The car window was rolled down, revealing Lin Xuanan's extremely dark face. Get in the car. Having been with him for 5 years, I knew him too well. This was a sign that he was angry. But Lin Xuanan, what right do you have to be angry? You betrayed my sincere feelings. I'm just you. You didn't see me turn into a hysterical shrew. What on earth are you angry about? I sighed, looked around at the desolate surroundings, and finally got in the car. Subconsciously, Lin Xuanan leaned over to fasten my seat belt for me. He had always been a gentleman, and in countless small details, he made me mistakenly think that he loved me deeply. I blocked his approach and pushed him away a bit. Thank you, I can do it myself. Lin Xuanan was stunned, then he suddenly grabbed my wrist, pressed me firmly against the passenger seat, and leaned over me. He kissed me fiercely. I couldn't break free and bit his lip hard in desperation. He let go in pain and wiped the blood that oozed from his lip. I expressionlessly fastened my seatbelt and turned my head towards the window. Drive. I want to go back to my elder brother's place. Lin Xuanan didn't listen. He took me back to the apartment where we had lived for 5 years. 3. Looking at the small home that I had decorated bit by bit. It would be a lie to say that my heart didn't ache. This relationship had always been in the dark. Facing my refusal to go abroad, my elder brother often had headaches. Sis, who on earth is there in the country? You won't even go to accompany mom. Your brother will earn money for you two to spend. Isn't the laid-back life nice? I also hesitated and asked Lin Xuanan why he refused to make our relationship public. He had such a good relationship with my elder brother. Wouldn't it be great to have an even closer relationship? Every time I asked, he would always rub my hair and casually soothe me. Your elder brother has always cherished you the most. I'm 10 years older than you. If he knew that his precious younger sister was taken away by an old guy like me, wouldn't he fight me to the death? It wasn't until later, when I could no longer bear a relationship that couldn't see the light of day and decided to make it public, that he, seeing that he couldn't coax me anymore, took me to meet Songji. That's when I learned that there had always been a first love in his heart. Am I considered a mistress? I don't know. In my previous life, I was indignant and made our relationship public. I told everyone the details of our life together. When Songji heard about it, her depression flared up, and she jumped off the tall building of the sanatorium and died on the spot. Lin Xuanan handled her funeral in the capacity of her husband and has hated me ever since. Coincidentally, I was kidnapped by the rival of my elder brother. When I was panicking and made countless distress calls, they were all cut off. Finally, one call was connected, but it was Lin Xuanan's cold voice on the other end. Jiang Ziyu, stop struggling. You refused to break up decently and caused Gigi's death. Then you can go down there and apologize to her. That person hated my elder brother so much that he regarded me as a plaything to vent his anger. I was tortured for 3 whole days. When I was on the verge of death and thrown into the mountains, I still had my last breath left. Watching the shadows of huge wild animals slowly approaching me, I closed my eyes as if I were finally relieved. Songji, I'm giving you back your life. The pain of being torn apart alive made me shiver involuntarily. Lin Xuanan noticed it and frowned as he asked me, "Are you cold?" I didn't answer and turned around to go back to the bedroom. Anyway, I would have to come here to pack my things later, so it would save me another trip. Seeing me take out the suitcase, Lin Xuanan strode over and overturned it. Jiang Ziyu, what on earth are you trying to do? What am I trying to do? Didn't you say we should break up? Didn't you take me to see your solemn promise because you were afraid that I would cling to you? Now why is it that I'm the one making trouble? That's not what I meant. There was a hint of evasion in Lin Xuanan's eyes. Then what do you mean? After being your bed partner in the dark for so many years, do you expect me to continue being shameless even after knowing what's in your heart? I looked at him sarcastically and took a step forward. Lin Xuanan, do you really love Songji? Why do you love her but can't stand being alone and have lied to me for a whole 5 years? Why are you clearly afraid that she will be affected, but you're unwilling to let go when I decide to move on? Do you really love her? Or do you just enjoy the thrill of being chased? I love Lin Xuanan. I decided to love him the first time I saw him at my coming-of-age ceremony when I was 18. I had never seen someone who smiled so beautifully. After my father passed away, my mother was not around, and my elder brother was busy with work. Lin Xuanan became the first man who stayed in my life after my view of love was fully formed, even during the Chinese New Year's Eve of those 2 years, when my elder brother was too busy with social engagements to come home. It was he who rushed over to accompany me. After we counted down together, he took out the cake from my favorite dessert shop as if by magic. With the fireworks all over the city, he said to me, "Happy New Year, little one." I enjoyed his unconditional company and preference. But perhaps, at that time, although he was looking at me, he was thinking of Song Ji in his heart. After saying goodbye to me with a smile, he would rush to the person he loved the most. I had his brief countdown time, while Song Ji had his company for the whole night. Unfortunately, I didn't know that at that time, for Lin Xuanan couldn't answer my questions. Perhaps he himself didn't know when he started to go astray. I quickly packed my luggage, but at that moment, there was a knock on the door. "Nan, this is a surprise." Song Ji carried her luggage and jumped into his arms with a smile. Lin Xuanan was obviously stunned too. "Aren't you supposed to be discharged from the hospital next week?" Song Ji hugged him tightly and greedily inhaled his scent. "Actually, I could be discharged today. I specially asked the doctor not to tell you. I wanted to give you a surprise. Then you should have told me so that I could go and pick you up." I stood there calmly, quietly watching the scene of the lovers reuniting. Song Ji emerged from his arms and coquettishly directed him to carry the luggage into the room. The moment she met my eyes, her smile froze instantly, and her whole body started to tremble. Nan, isn't she your younger sister? Why is she here so late?" Lin Xuanan was flustered for a moment and quickly stepped forward to hug her. "Gigi, listen to me explain." Song Ji was very emotional and questioned him with tears in her eyes. "Do you not want me anymore? Do you dislike me now? You said you would wait for me." Were all those words false? I smiled and soothed her. "Sister Song Ji, don't misunderstand. My elder brother stayed at Brother Xuanan's place for a few days some time ago and left some things here. I'm here to pick them up for him. If you don't believe me, look, the furnishings in this room are clearly those of a single man's residence. My elder brother did come here often, in order not to let him find out. I decorated the place according to Lin Xuanan's preferences. Except for a few of my clothes in the wardrobe, there were no other traces of my existence in other places. It's quite ironic. I had been in this home for a whole 5 years, but the things that could prove my existence couldn't even fill half a suitcase. It seemed as if I had been there, yet it also seemed as if I had never existed. Song Ji calmed down, half believing, after I said goodbye and was about to leave. Song Ji grabbed me and wouldn't let me go. "Sister Jiu, I was out of line just now. Can you stay and not leave?" This was a bit absurd, seeing that I was not happy about it. She quickly explained, "I've been living in the sanatorium for a whole 10 years. Besides Nan, I don't have any friends. I've seen you twice today, and I feel so close to you. Can you please stay and keep me company?" Just as I was about to refuse, I looked up and saw Lin Xuanan's almost pleading gaze. Anyway, I was going abroad in 5 days. I also wanted to see if Lin Xuanan really loved Song Ji that much. 5. Lin Xuanan took Song Ji into the master bedroom where we usually lived. I chose the mattress, and I personally laid the bed sheets. Even the aromatherapy by the bedside was carefully selected and bought back by me. When I walked into the adjacent guest bedroom, I saw Song Ji holding the aromatherapy and looking at Lin Xuanan moved. "Nan, you still remember that this is my favorite scent." No wonder Lin Xuanan only used this kind of aromatherapy. No wonder he lit the aromatherapy every night when we were passionately entangled. "Lin Xuanan, when you held my body, whose face did you imagine?" I felt sorry for my 5 years with him. After taking a shower, Song Ji came to my room. She was like a gentle elder sister, telling me about her past with Lin Xuanan. It was a fairy tale of childhood sweethearts. Unfortunately, the princess in the story's family declined, and she became the target of everyone's bullying. After the prince returned from studying abroad, he found that the princess he held dear in his heart had been tortured and driven to a mental breakdown by his former archenemy. The prince punished those bad guys and protected the princess well. This protection lasted for 10 years until the princess completely got rid of the previous shadows and decided to start a happy new life with the prince. Song Ji asked me if the princess was very brave. Fairy tales have always been dark. After the prince married the princess, he made the beautiful princess gradually turn into a resentful woman wasted by daily necessities. Song Ji's prince wasn't that infatuated either. It took him 4 years to win the heart of another girl, and then another 5 years to give that girl a taste of ordinary life. His guilt towards Song Ji only lasted for a mere year, but I didn't say anything. I smiled and said yes. I smiled and wished them a good life in the future. Songji didn't respond. Instead, she stared into my eyes meaningfully. Maybe there will be some insignificant passers-by around the prince, but the princess is the only one who can accompany him through the long years of life. Jiyu, don't you think so? It turned out that Songji wasn't stupid. At night, I couldn't fall asleep. I tiptoed to the balcony to enjoy the moon. In the past, this place was Lin Xuanan's exclusive spot. He had poor sleep quality. Whenever I woke up in the middle of the night and couldn't find him, he would definitely be on the balcony, with a cigarette in one hand and a glass of wine in the other. There was an air of boundless melancholy on his face that I couldn't stand. I would always ask, "What are you worried about?" He would smile good-naturedly, put out the cigarette butt, and then pull me into his arms. There are too many troubles in the adult world. My little one should always be happy. I struggled unconvinced. I'm already 23 years old, so don't exclude me from your world. Don't make me unable to understand your melancholy. He didn't answer anymore. Instead, he rested his chin on the top of my head and seriously admired the moon. So, was he missing his fallen first love at that time? Thinking of this, I began to dislike the moon a bit. Suddenly, there was a commotion coming from the master bedroom. The man's low growl and the woman's sounds of pleasure intertwined and lingered in the master bedroom that I had decorated with my own hands. Most likely, this was the real reason why Songji wanted me to stay. 6. On the 4th day before going abroad, I never expected such a strange scene to occur. After staying up all night, I was about to leave in the morning when Songji called out to me from behind. "Jiyu, you didn't hear any noise last night, did you?" The provocation in her eyes lost the cover it had the previous night. I smiled and shook my head. I sleep like a log. Even thunder couldn't wake me up at night. She bit her lip, looking somewhat unwilling. Then, she insisted on having me stay for breakfast, so the three of us sat at the dining table in an extremely strange atmosphere. "Nan, I want to go to the amusement park. Can you take me?" Lin Xuanan immediately took out his phone to buy tickets. Wrong. It's not 2 tickets, but 3. Lin Xuanan glanced at me guiltily. "Why 3? Aren't we 2 going?" Songji smiled at me. "Jiyu accompanied me and chatted for so long last night. We should thank her. I don't have any other friends, so of course we'll go together." I was getting tired of these meaningless tests. "I'm going to my elder brother's place for dinner today. You two can go by yourselves." Songji's smile faded, and a layer of mist welled up in her eyes. "Nan, does Jiyu not like me? I've lived in the sanatorium for 10 years. Besides you, there's no one else in my life. I really want to be friends with Jiyu. Did she dislike me after hearing about my experiences last night?" Lin Xuanan's expression, which originally had a trace of guilt, suddenly turned into an order for me. "Jiang Jiyu, come with us." I suddenly stood up and looked at him sarcastically. "Brother Xuanan, I call you brother because of your relationship with my elder brother. Do you really think of yourself as my brother? Even my own elder brother wouldn't force me to do things I don't want to do. What right do you have to force me? You asked me to stay last night, and I did. I also listened to the touching love story between you and Sister Songji. You two haven't had a normal couple's life for 10 years. I don't want to be a third wheel. You two can enjoy your meal. I'm leaving now." This time, no matter how Songji acted, I didn't stay. 7. I put my things back in my small apartment and drove to my elder brother's company. He was very surprised to see me. "The busy person who doesn't know what she's been up to all day. How come you have the time to inspect the work?" My nose twitched with a pang of sadness. I had always only had Lin Xuanan in my eyes. As if I had neglected the people who truly cared about me. My elder brother was clearly only in his 30s, but in order to preserve the hard work left by our father, he had worked so hard that the hair at his temples had turned white. In my previous life, after learning that I was killed, my elder brother's hair turned white overnight. He blamed himself for not noticing my disappearance and wondered why I didn't call him for help. He didn't know that Lin Xuanan had cleared all those call records. He started to reflect on why he wasn't worthy of my trust and almost drove himself crazy. Looking at my elder brother's doting eyes, I held back my tears. "Don't I miss you? Your birthday is tomorrow, and I'm going to move back and stay with you for a few days." My elder brother smiled broadly. "I'm really flattered, brother. I booked a plane ticket to go abroad next Monday. From now on, I'll stay there and accompany Mom well. You can focus on your work in the country with peace of mind. When you're tired, come and find us." My elder brother smiled with satisfaction. We went out for dinner together in the evening, and unexpectedly, we met Lin Xuanan in the restaurant. what bad luck, I thought to myself. My elder brother warmly greeted them to come over. Lin Xuanan remained silent, but Songji looked apologetic. Sorry, Jiyu. I made you unhappy this morning. Nan really didn't mean to force you. He just cared about my feelings. Please don't blame me. My elder brother sensed something was wrong and stared at Lin Xuanan with a disapproving look. What did you do to my sister? I quickly interrupted to explain. I was thinking of moving back. Last time you complained that you left some things at Brother Xuanan's place when you stayed there. I thought I'd bring them back for you by the way. Just then, Sister Songji was discharged from the hospital. She said she liked me and asked me to stay at home for one night. The next day, she asked me to go to the amusement park with them. I was too tired and didn't want to go, so I came straight to you. Fortunately, my elder brother was not picky about such things in life, and I was also careful. I really took away the things he had left at Lin Xuanan's place, otherwise, it would have been really hard to explain. My elder brother let out a sigh of relief and playfully punched Lin Xuanan. You kid. The woman you've been longing for has finally come back. Stop taking care of my sister for me. Just live a good life. Okay. Lin Xuanan glanced at me without showing any emotion and finally nodded silently. Songji, on the other hand, smiled brightly. It turned out that even my elder brother knew the person in his heart. No wonder he had hidden me so tightly. The dishes were served, and they forgot to tell the kitchen not to put rosemary in my portion. I was just about to exchange my plate with my elder brother's when a pair of big hands took my plate. It was Lin Xuanan. He naturally exchanged his plate with mine and even carefully cut the steak on my plate. You forgot to say that you're allergic to this. His actions were so natural that the whole table fell silent. Lin Xuanan's face suddenly changed slightly, and he looked at Songji beside him. Songji was shaking again. I exchanged the plate with my elder brothers again. When you asked him to send things to me back then, you talked about my allergy so many times. Brother Xuanan, you just take care of Sister Songji. You don't need to take care of me anymore just because of my elder brother's face. I was getting annoyed by Songji's shaking. 8. On the third day before going abroad, I helped my elder brother prepare a grand birthday dinner party. I didn't invite Lin Xuanan, but my elder brother did. He stood in front of the mirror adjusting his tie. You even forgot to invite your brother Xuanan, you little heartless one. I smiled bitterly and didn't refute. I didn't want the memories between my elder brother and me to be disturbed by a bad person. When the party started, I held my elder brother's arm and entered the banquet hall. Almost all the people who came were our family friends or my elder brother's business partners. Lin Xuanan also came with Songji. She was wearing a white evening dress, with her long hair tied up. She looked gentle and demure. She was holding a glass of juice in her hand and walked towards us with Lin Xuanan on her arm. I was wearing a long red evening dress. My hair, which was usually tied up, was lazily draped over my shoulders. Holding a glass of champagne, I slightly nodded towards them. Lin Xuanan frowned. He had always disliked my overly bright and eye-catching outfits. He had banned all the colors I liked. I didn't understand why he always liked to see me dressed simply. I only knew that in order to make him happy, I forced myself to become someone I wasn't. It wasn't until I met Songji that I realized that I was not only a plaything to relieve boredom, I was also a substitute. Happy birthday. He clinked glasses with my elder brother in tacit understanding. At this moment, a girl came over with a playful smile. Mr. Lin. Is this the first love you've been thinking about all this time? You finally decided to bring her out. Oh, so everyone in the world knew about it. In my previous life, how could I have been so stupid? Songji looked a bit timid and shrank behind Lin Xuanan. This girl was the daughter of Mr. Chen, whom Lin Xuanan had been trying to win over recently. In my previous life, because of this reason, I became close friends with her. So, this time, Lin Xuanan didn't stand in front of Songji. Have a chat with Miss Chen. Gigi, your life should be filled with many people. Songji gritted her teeth and nodded timidly. Miss Chen pulled her away. As soon as they left, another person rushed over. It was the youngest son of the Gu group. He shyly raised his glass to my elder brother. Mr. Jiang, I've always heard that you have a sister, but I've never seen her before. She's really stunning this time. I wonder if there's a chance for me to get to know Miss Jiang. There's no such chance. Lin Xuanan squinted at him and took a sip of champagne indifferently. He answered faster than my elder brother. My elder brother looked at him like he was a crazy person and then smiled and declined the offer. Sorry, my sister is going abroad soon. I don't want to waste Mr. Gu's time. Lin Xuanan's glass was knocked over. and champagne spilled on his suit. He looked a bit flustered but had to suppress his emotions. Going abroad. When, next Monday, Jiyu has decided to go and accompany our mom. Most likely, she won't be in the country anymore in the future. When the company stabilizes a bit more, I'll hand it over to a professional manager and then fly over to join them. Buddy, there won't be anyone to play with you in the country in the future. But don't worry, we'll definitely come to your wedding day. I smiled and echoed my elder brother's words. Yes, we'll definitely find the time to come back and witness your happiness. Lin Xuanan's face turned pale. Just as he was about to say something, he was suddenly interrupted by a shrill female voice. It was Song Ji. 9. We pushed through the crowd of onlookers and saw Song Ji lying on the ground. All the champagne and desserts had been spilled on her, and her white dress was stained horribly. Miss Chen looked at Lin Xuanan awkwardly. It's not me, Mr. Lin. My brother just politely shook hands with her. And then she suddenly went crazy and knocked everything over. Is there something wrong with your first love? I turned my gaze to Song Ji. She started shaking again and kept shouting, don't touch me, don't touch me. Young Master Chen was a gentle and refined person. Song Ji's behavior made it seem like he had done something wrong. Even the most gentlemanly person would feel embarrassed at this moment. Mr. Lin, if your girlfriend has some problems, don't bring her out and cause trouble for others. Today is Mr. Zhang's birthday party. Making such a scene is like ruining the party. If you can't handle things at home well, it's hard not to doubt your ability at work. Let's put the cooperation on hold for now. After saying that, he pulled his sister away. My elder brother soothed the onlookers. For the first time, I saw boredom towards Song Ji in Lin Xuanan's eyes. Song Ji, however, didn't notice it at all and still hugged herself and shivered. I sighed and stepped forward to extend my hand to her. Get up first. You look really bad like this. Song Ji didn't even look at me. Instead, she looked at Lin Xuanan pitifully. Nan, Lin Xuanan frowned, but in the end, he stepped forward and helped her up. Gigi, you're not really better at all. Let me take you back to the sanatorium. Okay. Song Ji was stunned. I left tactfully. Who wants to care about their affairs anyway? 10. On the second day before going abroad, Lin Xuanan blocked the door of my house early in the morning. He looked haggard, with bloodshot eyes. He probably spent the whole night last night taking care of Song Ji. Why are you going abroad? Why didn't I know about it? He started with a question, his tone full of fatigue. I stared at him mockingly. Lin Xuanan, we don't have any relationship anymore. Whether I go abroad or not has nothing to do with you. You're not at home with your Gigi. Did you come here early in the morning just to ask me this question? Lin Xuanan stepped closer to me one step at a time. Jiang Jiyu. I don't remember ever saying that I wanted to break off our relationship. I almost laughed out tears. Then what? Your only wife has been discharged from the hospital. Do you want me to be your mistress who can never see the light of day? Lin Xuanan, I'm telling you, when I was with you, I was in a relationship with you with the intention of getting married. I won't be a substitute. And I won't be a bed partner who can't be seen in public. You were despicable and selfish and lied to me for 5 years, wasting my youth to satisfy your need for entertainment. Now, do you still have the delusion of having both women? How on earth do you dare? There was an endless look of confusion in Lin Xuanan's eyes. It's not like that. I admit that my initial behavior was indeed despicable. You stood in front of me so vividly that I couldn't help but want to get closer to you. I know I should firmly wait for Song Ji. But I can't resist my feelings for you. How can you be so free and easy? Why can you pull away just like that? Even when it comes to going abroad, you can make the decision so gracefully. Why? Of course, it's because I've already died once. I understood it from the way he looked at Song Ji yesterday. In my previous life, because Song Ji died, he didn't experience how much patience it takes to live with someone who has mental problems. Over the years, Lin Xuanan has long lived a life that others look up to. How could he live a life of carefully taking care of others? It's ridiculous. In just a few days, the white moonlight he was obsessed with in his previous life has become the grain of rice on his clothes in this life. He seems unable to look directly at the sarcasm and ridicule in my eyes. Lin Xuanan avoided my gaze and tried to step forward and grab me. There must still be a way. Jiyu, don't leave, let's think of a way together. Okay. I couldn't stand it anymore and slapped him hard in the face, wanting both. Lin Xuanan, do you even deserve it? I turned around without hesitation and saw my elder brother standing behind me with red eyes. He didn't say anything and didn't ask anything. He stepped forward and patted my shoulder reassuringly. 1 punch, 2 punches, 3 punches. Until Lin Xuanan fell to the ground and couldn't get up again. 11. My elder brother didn't say anything and didn't ask anything. He just said that he had made a bad friend and had hurt me. How could that be? I lost my mind myself. It's not your fault, brother. All of you knew that there was someone in his heart, but I was so stupid that I believed his words. I gritted my teeth and was his backup for 5 years, leaving mom alone to live over there. I'm sorry for you guys. My elder brother had red eyes and waved his hand to stop me from talking. It'll be better in the future. Brother will come to find you guys as soon as possible. Then our family will never come back again. I nodded. Jiang Ziyu, open the door. There was a sudden rapid knock on the door outside. When I opened the door, it was Song Ji. She was barefoot, wearing the clothes from the sanatorium, and looking at me with a distorted face. Jiang Ziyu, you bitch. Did Nan send me back to the sanatorium because of you? My elder brother stepped forward and stood in front of me. I gently pulled his hand. Let me deal with it myself. There are some things that one always has to handle on their own. My elder brother went upstairs, and I brought Song Ji into the house. She refused all my kindness and stubbornly refused to deal with the wounds on her feet, running here from the sanatorium. She really went all out. Why do you say that? Song Ji let out a cold snort. The day at the sanatorium, I knew there was something wrong with you too. Every time Nan came to see me, I couldn't drive him away, but the day you left, he talked to me absent-mindedly. In less than a few minutes, he made an excuse that there was something wrong with the company and left first. He never used to be like that. She stared at me steadily, her face pale but determined. Do you believe a woman's intuition? The way Nan looks at you is different. I know that I've been out of touch with society for 10 years, I can't fit into his circle and I'm not worthy of him, but I became like this because of him. He can't abandon me. In fact, from beginning to end, Song Ji didn't do anything wrong. On the contrary, I was the one who killed her once. She just has an illness and can't control her emotions. In this life, her clumsy demonstrations of power are just struggles at the end of the road. The one who deserves to die has always been Lin Xuanan. Whether you believe it or not, I only knew about your existence when I was at the sanatorium. Before that, I never knew there was a you in the world. I met Lin Xuanan when I was 18 and confessed my love to him and got together with him when I was 22. Later, we had a secret relationship for 5 years, and even my elder brother didn't know about it. I was tired of this kind of secretive life, so I proposed to make our relationship public. When he saw that he couldn't coax me anymore, he brought me in front of you and said that you were the woman he wanted to marry and that he was just having fun with me. After I knew about you, I drew a clear line with him immediately. You can rest assured. I carefully chose my words and tried to tell her the truth with words that wouldn't be too stimulating. Song Ji was stunned. It's impossible. If you hadn't been pestering Nan, how could he have treated me like this? He looks the same as before, but why is there a trace of impatience in his eyes? Why? If it's not because of you, then because of what? Song Ji is not stupid, she's even very perceptive. She'd rather imagine me as an enemy than admit that Lin Xuanan's promise to her only exists in the persona he created. I didn't answer her questions, I just looked at her compassionately. If I hadn't had the experience of my previous life, I probably would have been just as blind, after the gunshot. There are no winners. It seems that either Song Ji or I was destined not to be able to maintain dignity. The way she looked at me gradually returned to calm, she smiled, and the laughter, mixed with the thunder outside, sounded particularly mournful. Lin Xuanan rushed over. Seeing Song Ji in this state, he only thought of apologizing to me. My elder brother left a lot of injuries on him. The way he apologized with a swollen face was so ridiculous. Song Ji wasn't as collapsed as he expected. Instead, she obediently followed him away. Before he left, he turned back and took a look at me. That night, I didn't know that this was the last time we would see each other in this life. 12. On the last day before going abroad, my elder brother cooked breakfast for me himself and then sent me to the airport. On the way, my elder brother received a call from a mutual friend. There was a moment of silence on the other end. Buddy, Lin Xuanan is gone. It turned out that after Song Ji left that night, she clearly told him that she wanted to go home with him. Lin Xuanan was silent for a long time, but he still drove the car to the entrance of the sanatorium. He said, Gigi, don't be willful, I'll pick you up and take you home when you're better, I'll wait for you. It was his usual way of speaking, but his eyes were different. Song Ji probably felt the same way as I did. When you look at me, who are you thinking of in your heart? She calmly accepted it but asked Lin Xuanan to send her upstairs. Lin Xuanan seems to be crazy. Your sister just said she was going abroad, and he also booked a ticket for the same flight. Songji easily got his phone and saw the flight information. Only then did she realize that Lin Xuanan was no longer the Lin Xuanan from 10 years ago. So, she hugged him and they fell from the 10th floor together.